Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast, episode 100. Today we finish our journey revealing the top 100 games of all time by unveiling the top 20 as decided by you, our sweet, our beautiful, our magnificent audience. And it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the finale of this series, and it wouldn't be episode 100 without my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, how are you?
Patrick, hold on, Rick. Slam bam, thank you, man. We're going backwards hat. And look at
Whoa,
this.
backwards hats happening.
For the people who aren't watching live, which is a bummer, you would see Patrick and I both have matching t-shirts on.
We do.
Doing this the right way, the right way. Patrick, I'm doing great. Did you hear the news, Patrick?
I don't think I did.
They just announced that there's going to be a live-action Zelda movie.
Oh, I did hear this news.
And it is going to be written by the man who wrote the Jurassic World films, and it will be directed by the man who has only done the 3 Maze Runner movies. So, Mr. Nintendo, if you're out there listening, if you don't fucking cast Link as Chris Pratt or vice versa, shame on you.
It's not good.
Doing great, Patrick. How are you?
I'm just fine. You know, I'm disappointed that we didn't think to send Mando, guest of today's episode 100.
My shirt got lost in the mail.
There we go.
Yeah.
Mando, welcome back. How we doing? Episode 100. How you feeling?
I'm great. How are y'all feeling? Like, congratulations,
Thank you.
Big, 100,
It's funny. This whole top 100 idea kind of came about because episode 100 was incoming, and we were like, oh wait, we could do like a cool little synergy thing here. And even though we've been building to it for over a month now, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like episode 100 finally happened, but here we are, episode 100. So look, if this is for some reason the first episode that you've ever listened to Spotlight Games podcasts, you got 99 in the bank to fall back on. Really more than that, because we've had some crossovers, we've had some 0.5s to make sure we hit certain dates that we want to do for certain
Did we ever release the episode that we recorded where we watched the Xbox 12-month showcase or something?
I don't think that ever saw the light of day, because the lag on the video was so bad that I was like, if I'm watching this, I'm not having a good time.
Oh, so it wasn't because I went under my desk and fell asleep for 10 minutes of the showcase?
Unfortunately, that's not the reason it didn't make it live. It was my own tech issues, but hey, that happens.
I'm honored to be here for the 100th, and I'm honored to have been part of a few others.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably like 4th time, maybe 5th time,
3rd or 4th,
something like that. 3rd or 4th. Yeah. Look at us. Well, look, it's episode 100. We got some special things happening. We're about to reveal the top 20 games ever made. Apparently, we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about, because this is the Spotlight Games podcast, where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod, or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. I mean, at this point, what do we even say? It's number 100. I mean, we did it. We can say we did it at the very least. Even if we don't have episode 101, at least we got episode 100. And to lead into this monumental, I tried to combine those two words at the same time, occasion, we've been unveiling each week 20 video games in the Spotlight Games Top 100 as decided by you, our audience. And in case this is the first time that you're listening to the Top 100, you're just stumbling in for, the best part of the course. You missed us unveil numbers 100 all the way down to 21 last week. Here's how this worked. The members of our audience sent in their top 15 games of all time. Each game in their list carried a point value. Number 1 on their list was worth 15 points, all the way down to number 15 being worth 1 point. And after the lists were submitted, scientists from all across the globe got together with their equations, their periodic table of elements. They compiled this list of 100 video games. And in the instance of a tie, Cayman and Mando, the tiebreaker was decided by the game's Metacritic score. In fact, there were so many ties in these 400 plus games that were sent in. This top 100 list is actually a top 104 list, but That's science in action. We're not going to deny science.
It had to be
here
done.
It had to be done. At the, when it's all said and done, it had to be done. We don't deny science, but we might be a little upset with some science. So before we jump into number 20, Mando, this is your first time on during the top 100. So you've had the pleasure or, the unfortunate experience of listening to numbers 104 to 21. What are your overall thoughts? Do you feel like this has been a complete, mockery of the art form? Some standout moments for you to kind of talk me through where your head is at leading us into the top 20.
I'm gonna give my thoughts after I rip off the list, because I want to go through the list because I think the list sets a good foundation. But I actually enjoyed the roller coaster. I like a good roller.
Okay.
It was a roller coaster for sure. But starting from 100, working our way to where we are now, I'm just gonna highlight a few just some standouts that were like, okay, Portal being at 94, jaw dropping. Wow, travesty. I called this list the top 100 travesties. It's not 100 travesties, but it's the travesties of the top 100.
Yes.
Titanfall being 84 was actually kind of crazy to me. That's the best single player shooter campaign ever. If you haven't played it, go play it.
So Titanfall 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Titanfall 2. Sorry. Oh my God. So that wasn't Titanfall 2. You know what?
It wasn't.
Get that one off the list. I'm sorry.
But we did in that moment. We were like, I feel like if there's going to be a Titanfall, it should be 2. It should be two.
It should be 2. But we haven't finished the list, so I don't know. Star Fox 64. I thought where it was at 83 wasn't bad, but I thought the slander Patrick gave it was absolutely insane.
Patrick's bad boy. He's a dirty boy.
Yeah,
I'm a dirty boy. I do deserve a spanking, but I stand by what I said. Star Fox,
no. You stand on it. I respect it. 10 toes down. RE2 at 81. I'm not even into horror games. I thought that was too low. GTA 3 at 74. That's in my top 5. I thought that was blasphemous. Uncharted 2 at 60. I thought that was a little low.
Sure.
Final Fantasy 10 at 49. Thought that was a little low. Shenmue at 42.
Some people say that's really low that it even made the list.
I thought it was really good. I thought, I'm glad it made the list, and I thought 49 was respectable. I was just disappointed none of you knew anything about it. So that was a travesty.
No, you got to think, man. Okay, you got to hear us out.
Dreamcast. It's a different time.
We weren't those people who were unlucky enough. That was Patrick and I's lottery draw in life. We didn't get a single positive trait that we could rub between the two of us. But we were lucky enough to never own Dreamcasts.
That is true. And we rubbed some things together in our heyday, Cayman. You and I.
Oh my God. That's for another podcast. Wow. I was one of the few that were lucky enough to have a Dreamcast. But Portal 2 at 40 was really low, I think. But then that was a trifecta. I got hit with 2 jabs and a haymaker. Portal 2 at 40. Mass Effect 2 at 39.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 game, Final Fantasy 7 at 38. Holy smokes. What a travesty.
Truly, that is
that's what I knew. And that was the start of the episode. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I don't even want to finish the episode. I finished it. It was a good episode. OG Pokemon games at 31. I thought that was pretty low.
Sure.
And Ocarina of Time at 27. I thought that was pretty low.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree with just about everything you said there. I think I would say kind of the biggest surprise for me was that Portal 2, Mass Effect 2, Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah,
I would have expected all 3 of those to be top 15.
Can I just point something out there? This I think is really interesting, and I think it's like a really good conversation before we kick off the last 20, right?
Yeah.
So today, IGN posted their review of Nintendo All-Stars Brawl 2. Okay.
Yes.
This game got a 9 out of 10 from IGN. This is in the year of 2023. Starfield gets a 7 from IGN. All right. Just a few months apart. Here's the thing. What I think is great about video games is that a comprehensive list of 100 means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things, because every game is so different that it is such a beautiful thing to just be like, who fucking knows, man? This list means nothing, but means everything. And it's the everything bagel, dude. We're living literally right now in Everything Everywhere.
We are.
Oh my God. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
All we can be is rocks on the edge of the cliff, just accepting our existence.
And the snubs that stood out, Fortnite. Wow. Especially with the comeback it recently had. I can't even believe it's not on the list. Wii Sports too. I thought that was a crazy snub. And League of Legends and Minecraft. I thought those were some pretty big snubs.
Well, look, it's not the only pretty big snub that we're going to be talking about by the end of this episode. There's some.
Well, wait, did you say snub or
giants?
Chub? Because I'm here for both, brother.
Oh, come on, brother. We're gonna be experiencing a little bit of both within the next like 6 hours. Is what I expect this podcast to be.
The episode 100. If we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out on top, and we're gonna go out
with a bang.
The number.
Exactly. You get it. Cognitive Clips in the chat. We got Liz in the chat. We got the other Liz in the chat. We got double Liz's in the chat.
Shout out to the chat.
A shout out to the chat. We've been doing it live for about 90 episodes. We didn't do it live for the first couple months. And honestly, the live part is my favorite part of doing the show is when folks come in and especially these like the tentpole episodes, the bracket episodes. It's always really fun having you on the chat. So thanks for being here.
You know what?
Liz squared. I love
that. But I want to point out too, and I think it's important because I know we've done this before with STC, but we haven't really done it for Spotlight. But like when we first started doing this, though, it was Patrick and I on a fold-out table, literally
right there,
4 feet across from each other.
Yeah,
and we both had laptops out. We were both synced up to the same mic system, and I had to drive to his house every day. We recorded. I do miss those days, but honestly, I wouldn't change this for the world. I'm excited to do this. Let's fucking go.
So, I mean, what better way to get us started than with these sweet little graphics? Because here's the thing. If you've been listening, if you've been listening only to this, I recommend if you're not here live right now, hop on over to YouTube because we're going visual today, folks. Yeah. We've been going visual the last 5 weeks, but especially today, you're gonna be disappointed in yourself if you don't at least pop in for some of these visuals, especially later when we got a couple maybe some surprises. I don't want to pull the rug out.
YouTube's the number one podcast platform for a reason.
People say it. Gentlemen, what do you say we get started?
Man, I'm a little nervous, but
we have 20 games ahead of us. And I think the best way to get started is to just pull off the Band-Aid. And so starting at number 20 today, released in 2018, only a few years ago, Cayman.
Okay.
34 points. You might remember we left off at 34 points last week with BioShock, number 21.
Yeah.
So we're still at 34 points. Released in 2018 on the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Interesting.
And the PC. I believe this is also a PC release. I just didn't write that in my little notes that I'm looking at. Cayman, Mando. How we feeling? Number 20, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay. You know what? This is in my top 10. I will gladly speak on this right now. When Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and I will still stand by this, this is one of the greatest games that's ever been made.
Okay.
I think being in the top 20, I think this is obviously a top 10, but I think this is perfect. I think the thing is with Red Dead Redemption 2, and I will stand by this, is that this is a simulator for people who don't like simulator games. And I think because of that alone, it's one of those like you have to. But this is also like this is Martin Scorsese as a video game. And I think that this is like at the time when I played this, I had a little layover at my parents' house before I moved. So I was staying there, I was playing this game. I distinctly remember my dad walks in the room, he sits down at the TV, he sits down on the couch next to me. And we don't say anything. We sit there for like 2 hours, not saying a word. He's just watching. I'm just playing. Then he looks at me as I pause it, and he goes, "Wait, what did you do?" And I was like, "I'm just pausing the game." He's like, "I thought this was a movie." And he literally was straight faced, like had no fucking idea the difference. And I think that that's like a testament of like how well this game functions as like just a narrative piece, alongside the fact that I think that every little detail makes this game so fucking amazing. And I stand by it. I think it's one of the greatest games ever made. That's it.
I was actually talking about this game this weekend with Handsome Tony, who's not been with us for a while. He's not dead. He's not been in the chat. I say he's not been with us. He's just not been in the chat. He's been a busy boy. I was talking about this game with Tony over the weekend, and I feel like this is one of the most impressive games ever made. We got Liz in the chat. First video game to make her cry, easily in her top 3. She feels like this is a snub. Nick in the chat. You could play Red Dead 2 and never play the campaign. That's how great of a game it is. I agree with all of that, but I also feel like, and I might get some flack for this, I feel like it is maybe one of the worst paced video games I've ever played. And specifically if you're going in it for its story. If you're going in it for the vibes, for the simulation, for the experience, it's not. But if you're going in to play the prequel to Red Dead 1, there's just so much in this game. None of it is bad by any means, but there's so much in this game. This game took me like 5 months to finish because there's just so much to it. But by the end of it, it was an amazing experience. By the end of it, for sure. Mando, how do you feel about Red Dead?
Red Dead is one of the games I've put in about 10-15 hours and I was like, all right, cool. I got to move on. I'm that kind of gamer. I'm like,
sure,
10, 15, 20 hours, move on, and I'll come back and finish you later. And I haven't finished Red Dead, but I agree. You hit it on the nail with like the pacing thing, like something about chasing the story just kind of felt wrong. And I actually enjoyed the game more when I was just enjoying the world and just riding around. I was like, you know what? Let me go hunting. And like, really, you can like literally just go hunting.
Yeah.
Get lost in a couple side quests. But I think, you know, to Cayman's point, there is a beauty in how dense it is in its systems and in the characters and the narrative. It's a game that I need to finish. I just keep putting other games before it. It keeps happening. But I'm happy to see it in the top 20. I'm not gonna lie, because I know for a lot of people it's top 10, top 5, or number 1.
So I think that what I could say about that, and what I think that for me, Rez, like that, I like my one argument against the pacing on this is specifically that the game is designed in a way that it's almost like a slice of life. That
for sure,
your pacing is like how you want to do. You want to do certain things. If you want to speed things up or slow things down, if you just want to go hunting in between, you go do something, like the game's kind of designed for you to feel like that's a liberty you have. So that never impacted me where, you know, but I'm not going to judge you there. I think you're wrong.
No, I mean, as a testament to this game, I got a really close friend who's a big movie buff. Actually, who I was telling you about before the show. He was playing Red Dead on my Steam Deck, like via remote play on the PlayStation. He went home, bought Red Dead 2, and beat it in like 3 days. He was like, this was incredible. This was such a ride. For sure. So it's one of those, and glad to see it in the top 20 for sure.
Yeah, and this game also has a couple of like the coolest like moments that I've ever played in a video game. I forget like what the mission is, but like there's that mission at night when you go up to like that mansion with your crew.
Oh yeah.
Just like a beautifully lit game. Also, I'm seeing cognitive clips in the chat. I can't hear him. What did you do to my dumpster boy? Other people sound off. I hear Cayman just fine. So let me know if that's an issue. Anyone else, or maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying. Cognitive clips. Let me know.
Okay. The beginning of the game also reminds me of Hateful Eight.
Sure.
It really gives me the vibes of like their way to that cabin and just that dreadful winter feel.
For sure. Number 20, Red Dead Redemption 2. Next up on the list, number 19. Liz in the chat. I can hear him, unfortunately.
Oh man, she always wants to bust my balls.
Yeah, that's true. Number 19 with 35 points, released same year, 2018. Originally released also on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC. A game that I love so much, but I don't know that it made my list. We'll circle back to that at the end of the episode. But the game is Control.
Okay.
Wow.
I love this.
I'm thrilled about this, to be honest.
I love this. This is amazing.
Yeah, I've always really liked Remedy, and I really love the original Alan Wake. I'm playing the sequel now, but Control, I felt like in a way was like their coming out party. Like this, it was them with full tech behind them, able to deliver on their vision in a way that Alan Wake just didn't have the tech to be able to do, especially Max Payne didn't have the tech to be able to do. Even with tech restrictions, they've been able to they've been able to do a lot of really cool shit, like within, you know, Max Payne and Alan Wake, it kind of introduce these systems that we hadn't really seen in games before. But Control, it's just like a mind fuck of a game that I think is so good. Cognitive Clips also corrects me. I did misread my notes. This is a 2019 game. Thank you, Jordan. But yeah, I fucking love Control. And the best part about Control for me is that it launched a buggy mess.
Yes.
But now it's not. And you play the definitive edition on PS5 and it plays fucking perfectly. So yeah, you can go back now and have like the best experience with Control.
And I think that's really important because the first time I played Control, and this is why I think that's like a testament to this game and why I love this on this list. First time I played Control, I actually borrowed your copy, Patrick.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I made it maybe 3 hours into play and was like, I literally cannot play this game anymore. It's chugging along at a snail's pace. The everything, it's technical disaster. And my PlayStation 4 sounded like a jet engine.
Sure.
And it was awful. I turned around and replay it because it was on PlayStation Plus, played on my PlayStation 5, turned around and platinum that game and did every little, I've even played past the platinum to do DLCs because I was so in love with it. And I think that's what's really important here is because I know there's people out there right now who are like, why the hell is this game at 19? When I played it, it was a fucking disaster. And it's like,
right.
Please go back, replay this now on this console. Like, I think it might have just been either the launch was rough or that the game was just too big for the specs that it was running with.
For sure.
That like, if you have a modern gen console right now, if you have PlayStation 5 or Xbox or PC that can run it, like play Control. I promise you, this is one of the best games you'll play in a really long time.
It's so good. And also Nick in the chat, I've never played it, going on the Christmas list. I think, Cayman, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is a PlayStation Plus game.
I think it's on PlayStation Plus right now. Yeah.
I think it's on PlayStation Plus. So double check that before you go and buy it. Mando, did you play Control?
I have not. And I do remember hearing all of that just buzz about it being a buggy mess. And I was like, okay, cool. That sucks because it looks like a technical masterpiece. It's like one of those kind of games. And I was just looking in the Epic Store. I was like, I feel like I redeemed this for free back in the day. And I did. And so it's also on my list. Like,
it's
I have a long list on GG of like backlog, like games I own and need to go back to and play or even start.
Cognitive Clips in the chat. He's 100%ed the achievements on Xbox and gotten the platinum on PS5. Honestly, this is a game that I would consider playing again and 100%ing again. It's that good.
Yeah.
Because also Control, I think, can live in a space that we don't get to see a lot in video games, which is like the mind fucky space. Like there's so
video game.
And Remedy loves doing that. Like that's why I'm so excited to really sink my teeth into Alan Wake 2 is because they love to fuck with their audience in a way that serves the story, and I'm all about that. Yeah. Coming up next, gentlemen, and our sweet audience, we're coming up to number 18. And a fun fact about number 18 is this morning it was number 19, but I realized that I had messed up my tiebreaker. So this is actually number 18. So I went in, I got the scientists out to kind of flip this around. And also there's something even more important about number 18 because we're bringing in someone to speak on this game that is not on the panel today with us. It's not me. It's not Cayman. It's not Mando, because we might be doing this a few times today, but this game released in 2004 is not a game that I've played. Cayman and Mando, you very well might have played it, but I felt like it would be a great opportunity to hear from one of our listeners from day one. Just such a handsome man, which if you're not listening, or if you're not watching, go to YouTube because you can see this handsome man. We're bringing him to the stage now, Elliot Folds, to talk about our number 18, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, released on the GameCube. Elliot, why should Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door be not in the top 100, but in the top 20? And welcome to the show, Elliot.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for the very nice things you said about my appearance. I appreciate it.
You sound silky smooth.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a cat behind me, so hopefully he's going to behave for my short time on the show. I'm so happy to be here. So Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is the best. is, I think, just basically the shortest, most concise answer.
And that's
to
your
that
time.
question.
Thank you so much, Elliot.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having it. A real pleasure. No, but like, and I'm curious because Cayman had a big reaction. So Patrick, I know you haven't played it, but have y'all played it? Like,
no, I've not played it.
oh snap.
Yes.
Okay, but Cayman, you have.
Oh yes, I love my Paper Marios.
I do too. So the thing about my relationship with Thousand Year Door specifically, the Nintendo 64 Paper Mario that came out like I think it had to be like in 2000 or 2001. Is probably my sentimental favorite, like all-time favorite video game. I've just played it like maybe 75 times, beginning to end. I have like periodic playthroughs for no reason. And I am like full transparency, not a super seasoned gamer. Like I enjoy a good video game. I was very into like the Nintendo world when I was like in elementary school and middle school, but I've only recently kind of come back to it. But Paper Mario has always been there. Thousand Year Door, I think it's safe to say, I was kind of wrestling between including this or the original N64 Paper Mario on my ballot. I was trying not to include both because they are, spoiler alert, very similar in gameplay. Okay. I think it's pretty inarguable, though, that Thousand Year Door is like the perfection of the model. Like the N64 game, an absolute blast, an absolute delight. Thousand Year Door genuinely takes every single thing that first game did and just like quadruples it. It just like what is good about the original game is so much richer, is so much better, is so much more compelling. It looks amazing, and also the upcoming remake / remaster, whatever you want to call it, that's coming to Switch next year, looks just mind-blowingly good. So, and I know I have a limited amount of time. I have a couple of like bullet points I want to hit because there are so many things that make this game so great. So the writing, and this is true for the whole Paper Mario series, the writing across the whole series is fantastic, but this game is so funny, and I feel like I'm always surprised how like formative, especially this and the first game were to like my sense of humor. Like I go back and I my periodic playthrough of the N64 game and I'm just like, oh my God, I have this script memorized first of all, but also it's like everything I find funny about like anything is just like in the DNA of this game. It's also like, it's an incredibly written game as far as like world building goes and like characterization goes. The Mario series, I think it's probably safe to say, is not the most like lore heavy series, right? You got like the broad strokes and they're amazing, but it's not necessarily one that really gets too deep into like, you know, the stuff that Thousand Year Door frankly gets into. There is an extremely like kind of convoluted and like ancient mythology like barely baked into the structure of this game that is extremely like endearing to me and very compelling. The characters, though, is the next thing I really want to hit. The characterization, especially with Mario at like his blank slatiest. Like, so the whole thing about the Paper Mario series, that Mario like doesn't speak at all, like not even his like signature grunts. He is just like kind of a silent stone-faced guy, almost like a Buster Keaton for a video game. And
so you're telling me we don't get to hear
what?
Like you're telling me we don't get to hear that in Paper Mario?
Yeah.
Continue.
But the his sidekicks, right? Like you have like this team of I think you collect up to 8 to 9. There's one person that's optional, and I don't want to spoil it. This 20-year-old game. But the sidekicks are all so well drawn, and a lot of them are very again, with the perfecting the model of the N64 game, a lot of them are kind of one-to-one with the partners you have in that game. But the way that they're written, the way that they're personalized is so much deeper. There's a Bob-omb who's like a hard-worn like sea captain named Bobbery. He's amazing. He has like this really like deeply moving backstory.
Ooh.
He wants to like live again after his wife dies. Like there's this adorable anxiety-ridden Koopa who I just love named Koops. I've been blowing up Patrick's like inbox on his phone with pictures of Koops.
You have, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
I'm glad. There's one character in particular who I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't done the research on this. I think she's the only Paper Mario character specifically to have a Wikipedia article for herself.
I had no idea.
Vivian. She is one of your partners. She is of the, I think they're called the shadow sprites or spirits, the shadow spirits. And essentially, basically what makes her notable is that she's kind of gotten a pretty significant following, especially among the LGBTQIA plus community, specifically the trans community, because it was kind of a Birdo situation, right? Like lost in the translation between the Japanese script and the English
we
script.
We love our Birdo, man.
Oh my god, the best. She's the best. But there is like some very overt references to Vivian's like gender performance and like gender identity, like exploration and journey, and the fact that she has this abusive relationship with her siblings who are consistently misgendering her. And then Mario basically, again, at his blank slatiest, is like offers her kindness and compassion, and she like fully defects from the bad guys and becomes one of your partners because she's he's the only person who's been kind to me. There's this book I was trying to find like a PDF of it that's about like queerness in video games. And there's like a whole like section exploring that character specifically. And I was trying to find something to pull from it, but anyway, she's amazing. The characters are amazing. The music is amazing. There is one track in particular that is just like heaven. Everyone should go look it up. And fortunately, it's like the central hub that you keep going back to, Rogueport. Music's insane. It's just so good.
So what I'm hearing is this game is fucking rules.
It rules. It rules. I've gone long already, but like the gameplay is amazing. The turn-based battle system, the badge system, the overworld is amazing. The sewer system you get to go through is amazing. Again, it looks great. It's so funny. It's so moving. You play as Peach and Bowser, and it's just
I can't wait.
It has everything you could ever want.
I was already really anticipating the remake, but now it's like skyrocketed to my most anticipated for next year. Cayman, what is your experience with Paper Mario? I assume you love it based on your reaction when we announced this.
Yeah, Paper Mario is incredible, and I think because it's Paper Mario and it's not like a standard 3D Mario, a lot of times it gets lost in the shuffle, right?
Sure.
So I think I think Elliot really nailed everything on the head talking about this. I don't want to. I feel like it'd be ridiculous rehashing it. But what I will say is the fact that we are getting a remake next year is incredible because now we have a bunch of people who obviously can't play this game unless you have a fucking GameCube, which are difficult to find that still run. Or this game in particular is very expensive in the aftermarket. So for now, people to have the ability to do it without having to emulate is amazing. And I'm very excited about it.
Hell yeah. Well, Elliot, thank you for taking the time to tell us about Paper Mario, the 1,000-year number 18 with 35 points. Something tells me that this remake might push this up even a little further when we do this again next year.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me go long on this this lovely old chestnut. Look, I appreciate it very much.
When this comes out next year, we're bringing you back. We're doing a whole fucking spoiler cast. It's gonna be great.
I'm ready. Just say when, say where. I'm here.
Next year, baby. Well, thank you, Elliot. I will talk to you soon.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye. What a lovely time. I tell you what.
Lovely.
This is one of those gems I missed because I didn't own a GameCube.
I'm so excited. And even though I did own a GameCube, I saw this game in Hollywood videos so many times, I just never picked it up.
This is one of those games that my cousin had because I didn't have a GameCube, but he like permanently had it, not like a Blockbuster rental. And so we played through this so many times as kids. So like I have very fond memories of this. Really excited about the remake.
Hell yeah.
Kids have no idea.
Got Mike in the chat. Mike says if Spyro isn't in the top 10, we riot. Get your pitchfork ready, brother, because that game ain't anywhere. We'll fucking spoil that right now, brother. All right, next up. So I didn't touch number 18, Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door. Number 17 is a game that I played so much of.
Okay.
And we're doing back-to-back guests, doggy dog. We're bringing in friend of the show, Trevor, to talk about number 17, originally released in 2009 on the 360 and the PS3 with 36 points, Assassin's Creed 2. Trevor, welcome to the show.
What's going on, brothers?
Come on, brother. How we doing? Assassin's Creed 2. Look, I was talking to Liz, who we might see later. Who's to say?
Maybe.
And she told me how much you love Assassin's Creed 2. And I'm like, well, look, this game's in the top 20. So let's bring on Trevor to talk about some Assassin's Creed 2. Tell me about Assassin's Creed 2 and why, because I hear you're a big Assassin's Creed boy. What is it about 2 that sticks out for you? Is this your favorite of the franchise?
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
It's the
Talk to me.
best by far. Really, the first one was kind of difficult for people to get into. It was a little harder. There weren't a lot of ways to kind of cheese the game like there are in some of the newer ones.
Sure.
Some of the newer ones, Odyssey, never played Origins, so I don't know, but Valhalla specifically go a little too hard on the RPG and having the crazy skill trees and doing everything to upgrade. But 2 is just straight up about the story. It's a beautiful story. Ezio is one of the greatest video game characters of all time.
Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
Although I never really cared for Brotherhood or Revelations as much, even though I know that's, the definitive thing to do. Go ahead and finish the trilogy. But if you have $20 and a PC, go on Steam, buy this game, and sit down for the story's actually like 19 to 20 hours. Back then, they actually wanted to tell a good story, so they took their time. No 6-hour bullet storms gaming.
Got him.
But
that's the perfect when you're a grown ass adult, Trevor. You're almost there, brother. You're almost there.
But if you've got like 19, 20 hours to kill, beautiful story. The characters are awesome. The settings are awesome. You get a little bit of everything. There's some world building. There's platforming, RPG elements.
I remember sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
One of the interesting things is that every character that gets killed or assassinated, all historically accurate down to the place and the time.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Wow.
Fuck yeah. I remember so vividly when Assassin's Creed 1 was revealed, whatever year that was at E3. And I remember being like, this looks like the coolest video game that has ever been made. And then I played Assassin's Creed 1 and it was really cool, but it left a lot to be desired.
Right.
And Assassin's Creed 2 is one of the best sequels ever made because it improves on Assassin's Creed 1 in every single possible way, whether it's story, characters, the gameplay, the pacing, like kind of across the board, the world, the open world, like it is such a great step up from the original. And I think to this day, it still is. If it's not my favorite Assassin's Creed game, it is in my top 2 easy for sure, because this game fucking rules. Cayman, Mando, either of you? I mean, I'm sure you guys did, but who here played Assassin's Creed 2?
Yeah, I loved Assassin's Creed 2. Ezio is top 5 characters all time for me. Like, it's just so likable, man. Like, what is not to like about this guy?
Yeah, for sure.
For me, maybe Brotherhood over 2, just because I'm more anything that adds a little RPG element. I'm
Sure.
so down for.
Right.
So
Sure.
any little bit, but I do agree that like once you get to like Odyssey and Origins and Valhalla, it's like overkill. It's like, all right, we kind of got away from what the game actually even was.
Definitely. It turns into Far Cry.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm really excited to try Mirage for that reason.
Get him out of here. Assassin's Creed Origins is the best Assassin's Creed. It's a hill I'll die on, but Assassin's Creed 2 is really fucking good. This game's solid. I think going back and like replaying or trying to replay Assassin's Creed 1 feels so weird.
Right.
But then when you go to Assassin's Creed 2, it almost feels like they've nailed it that quick. And there's so much still there and I think this game too, and it's not, when did this game come out? 2008? 2009. This game still plays really fucking well for a game that's 14 years old now, almost 15 years old. So like, solid. I think it's a great one. Even though I'm an Origins boy, I just loved being able to scale the pyramids. I will wash my hands clean and admit Assassin's Creed 2 scientifically is the better game.
Scientifically, it is the better game because we don't deny science here. I also, last thing I'll say about Assassin's Creed 2 is I also think Assassin's Creed 2 is where the modern day story honestly is kind of what brought me into the franchise in a big way. Like a lot of people don't love the modern day, but the modern day was best in this era with Ezio. I mean, it was still Desmond in the first one, but there was only just like little tiny bits in the first one. And 2 is when we really start getting a lot of the modern day story. And I think the modern day, like if they could bring back the modern day in a Desmond way, like they had in those first few games, I would be so thrilled because eventually it went way off the rails, but yeah, Assassin's Creed 2 rules.
That's one of the worst cliffhangers I've ever been left on.
Oh.
Like the cliffhanger of the end at the end of all of that.
Yeah,
it really is.
I mean, I'm still in pain over it. Like I'm still just like, what? So where are we going?
Me too. A young Kristen Bell in the modern day. She's playing a character, but it is Kristen Bell. It looks just like her.
Yeah.
Trevor, final thoughts, Assassin's Creed 2, that you'd like to share?
It's incredible. If you haven't played it, pick it up. It's super cheap right now. Back in the day, you could get it for like $5.99 at Walmart in the Platinum Hits, but no more because
I do think it's on. Now. I think it might be on either Game Pass or PS Plus Collection. So if you have either of those, check that out.
It's on PS Plus. As a matter of fact, as soon as I get off here, I'm going to turn on the PS5 and see because I have to make Liz play it.
Perfect.
Hell yeah,
Liz,
you do.
What are you doing, Liz? Trevor, thank you for coming on the show. You're my Ezio.
I appreciate that. I'll take it.
Hey, have a great evening.
You guys too.
See you, brother.
Come on, brother. Fucking love Assassin's Creed 2. Great game. Boys, we're 40 minutes in and we've covered like 4 games. I'm having a great time though.
Deserving of top 20.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. This is crazy though.
Next up, number 16 with 37 points. So we're up again from 36. Released in 1996 on the Super Nintendo. Came in. I'm going to be leaning on you for this one, and hopefully you too, Mando. We don't have a special guest for a game that I haven't played, but I will be playing in 10 days. Super Mario RPG at number 16.
Wow.
Cayman, talk to me.
I can't say anything about this. Go ahead.
Super
Go
Mario,
off, Cayman.
Okay. Super Mario RPG is baby's first RPG just in Mario. And here's the thing. It's incredible. Even on the N64, this game, there's a magic to it. And I think part of the magic is the fact that it's so accessible, because even if you look at something like Pokemon, which probably was most people's first RPG, even that game was really tough. Especially like the first few gens of Pokemon were not easy. And I think a lot of people forget that. Whereas Super Mario RPG is one of those games that was more accessible. So someone who was like 7, 8, 9 wasn't beating their head against a wall trying to beat Giovanni and Team Rocket. And I think too, the reason that this game works really so well and why is because you took a very beloved franchise like Mario, you turned it into an RPG, you made it really campy, you made it really fun. There's amazing jokes in it. Bowser is you're working with Bowser. It's a mind trip, and that happening back in the day is so cool. And the fact that we're getting a remake of it is genuinely amazing. This is my whereas I'm so excited about Paper Mario, and for rightful reason. Like this is the one I'm the most excited for. I distinctly remember it was one of those weekends, and I guess my parents had a little extra scratch. So they took us to Blockbuster, and I remember my brother and I sitting down and playing through the entirety of Super Mario RPG together. And it was an amazing moment from my childhood that I remember spending with my brother. I have such fond memories of this. And I think it being on the list this high is really awesome. Do I think it's the best RPG? No, not at all. Sure. But I think there is something here that like when people finally get to play it next year, I think a lot of people, or not next year. I think it's this year, right?
No, it's on the
17th, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Like I said,
this month.
I think a lot of people are going to play this game for the first time and just be shell shocked. They're like, they missed this. And I think that's a really beautiful really beautiful thing. And yeah, man, I can't sing this game's praises enough. And I'm just really, really excited for everyone to be able to try it in a few weeks.
Me too. Nick in the chat, my brother and I play this game religiously. Beautiful graphics for the SNES, along with the soundtrack. The Forest song in particular, I listen to just while chilling out. I'm really excited to play this next week because this was a game that I didn't even know existed until I was an adult. Like I just never saw this as a kid.
Same.
I had no idea this game
Mario had an RPG. Where completely.
Yeah.
I didn't learn about this until like my late teens. Mm-hmm. I was like, I guess that ship sailed. Mm-hmm. But this is one of those games I've seen so many people stream and like so many people talk about. And when it got announced, I like the Twitter feed gets crazy when certain games get announced, but like
sure.
everyone and their mother was like, yo, I can't wait for this game to come out. This game might do like 30 million and like 20-30 mil in just this end of year, and based on like hype alone.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm thrilled. Next up, we're not going very far from Super Mario RPG for number 15, released in 1988, also on the Super Nintendo. A little low, I gotta say, but at least it's in the top 15. We can say that game, Super Mario World. With
this is the best Super Mario.
Yes,
this is the best Mario game of all time.
Best of all time.
This game rips. I'm shocked that this game is only 15, but the fact, like, I believe it was on your list. Yeah. This game, I've played so much. Yeah, like, this is one of the most played games of my life, for sure. This was like, I feel like there were months at a time that this is the only game that would be in our Super Nintendo because it was that fucking good. And it's a game, I can see it right now, sitting out of my Super Nintendo over there. This game fucking rips.
This game got me
shocked that it's only number 15.
This game got me into speed running.
Oh, really?
Wow. This was, and I don't speed run, but this is something, and I didn't even know what a speed run was. But when I was back in college, we had a Super Nintendo that was sitting there, and we would just play Super Mario World. And I got so good at Super Mario World, I could beat the game in less than 20 minutes start to finish.
Wow. We're jumping worlds, I assume?
Yeah, we're jumping worlds. We're hitting up the special levels. We're using keys to get through. I was so fucking good at this game. And honestly, if I tried to do it now, I would just blister my ass attempting to do it. But no, man, this game.
It's so good. And Liz in the chat, agree, best Mario game. I played this so much as a kid. Holy shit. I feel like if 2D Mario could feel the way Super Mario World feels today, I feel like just release one like every year and everyone's going to keep buying them. But something got lost at some point, in my opinion, from World to now, where the 2D games just don't have that same feeling that they did on. And I don't even know how to. I have played Wonder, and I like Wonder, but it's not an all-timer. It's not like it's definitely not the best 2D Mario. I mean, it's not Super Mario World, but it feels good, but it doesn't have the magic that Super Mario World has, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree.
Talking to the clips in the chat, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, and Zelda ALTTP were like the games, man, my childhood, for sure. Like it's this game so special. Again, shocked that it's number 15, but it's on the list. And so at the very least, the scientists got this one right.
They did get this one right.
Next up, number 14, again, staying in the Mushroom Kingdom, released in 1998 on the N64, Mario 64.
See,
and this is something where I can say we're going to be doing some stats later. There's so many Mario games that were submitted. It's like from a points perspective, when you put together all of the points that Mario games scored, it's like 293 points Mario games scored throughout everyone's submissions.
What you don't realize is the top 5 games are all Mario Olympics.
Yes. But Mario 64, this was the first, we played so much Super Mario World, but I was young. So like it was just a game to me. It was really fun, but it was like I didn't quite understand as I was playing it how special it was. It was later in life that I look back and was like, man, that game was incredibly special for like all of us then. Super Mario 64 I think was one of the first games that I played where as I'm playing it, I'm realizing how special it is.
Yeah.
First time we went from 2D to 3D with Mario, and I feel like if you had an N64, you had Mario 64. Like, I don't know if it came packaged with it. I don't think it did, but I feel like everyone had Super Mario 64. Mando, what does Super Mario 64 mean to you?
I don't know, like the beginning of games as we know them today.
Sure.
Like literally, like it's the foundation of like 3D gaming. Jumping into that painting, and like I don't know, man. It was just crazy because like you guys said, like I played Super Mario World endlessly, and you know it's about the secret passages. It's about jumping and like I'll never forget the first time my brother grabbed like he saw me playing Super Mario and he was like hold on, give me the remote. And he just jumped in an empty space and a box popped up and he blew my world up.
Yeah.
And so when I came into this game, it was like, how is this game gonna do that? And the way this game just did that was incredible, really unique. And again, man, it's the foundation of like 3D gaming, definitely for Nintendo, and I think for everybody.
Yeah, and
really,
you said something that I've never like actively thought about, but that first moment you jump into a painting in Mario 64 was like world breaking as a kid. I was like, wait, I just jumped into a painting, and the guy gave clips in the chat. But when I jump into a painting, I'm no longer welcome at the Louvre. Bullshit. Yeah, I mean, take it out with Miyamoto. Cayman, you've been awfully quiet about Mario 64. Where's your head at with this one?
Okay, so here's my thing. Mario 64 is not as good on the N64 as it is on the Nintendo DS. I don't know.
Interesting. Continue.
This is a hot take. The Nintendo DS version of Super Mario 64 or Super Mario DS is just unequivocally a better version of Super Mario 64.
Is it that there's a second D-pad?
One, I think it feels better because as much as I love the Super Nintendo, I feel like the Super Nintendo the controller is just not great. But that's beside the point. You also get Wario, Luigi, and Yoshi that you can all play as in Super Mario DS.
Oh,
and there's like some extra levels and stuff. So there's like a lot of really cool things that happen with those that like I feel like just makes this already amazing game even better. So I feel trepidation here because I'm like,
sure, trepidation.
I love this game. And I think that Super Mario World is the better of the two? Yes, I think that's to me that's the best Mario game. But this, I think, is a monumental game because, one, it brought Mario into the 3D world. This is essentially what kicked off like the N64 to be the console you had to have. You had to have this console because of this game and GoldenEye, but that's beside the point. But I think that it's amazing. I love it here. I think the one thing it just kind of kills me is like, please, Nintendo, just re-release Super Mario DS because it is spot for spot the exact same game and actually looks better. Like it's a higher fidelity too. So if I would say this, because the likelihood is you'll never get it, what I would say is that if you can emulate it, if you're going to go back and play Super Mario 64, because you know Nintendo's never going to give it to you.
No, they're never going to.
They're never going to give it to you. Emulate Super Mario DS. I think you'll have a better experience, but I do think this game is super important and is beloved and should be on this list exactly where it is.
Mando, you tried to call a timeout there. What did you want to talk about?
So you're telling me that even worse so that the definitive edition of like Mario games I have, the 3D collection, they didn't even put the best version of Mario on that?
Yeah.
These guys, man. Like,
here's the thing is when you play as Luigi, you can double jump as Luigi. So you can get to like inaccessible areas for stars. When you play as Wario, like he has a special ground pound move and it can just sink to the bottom instead of having to be metal. So like, and then Yoshi can do like the long jump and
the flutter jump. Yeah.
So like it was basically, they just took Super Mario 64 where like you can play, you unlock the characters as you went, but you can replay all of the levels to get all of the stars by using, it really is like, that is the perfect version of this game. And we'll never see it again. So
I'm gonna try to get that on my 3DS because I've certainly never played that version. But that sounds
amazing. That sounds like that would make that game really fun too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a game that we've all played 65 times. Like let's try it with fucking Yoshi instead.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to number 13 with 41 points. This one both shocked me and didn't shock me because this is when we start to see a trend of recency bias happening. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but I'm surprised to say that number 13 released in 2022 with 41 points, a game that Cayman has got the platinum trophy for, Elden Ring, originally released on the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. Mondo, Cayman and I have talked so much about Elden Ring
This
on
game
the show.
sucks.
Did you play Elden Ring, Mondo?
I did. I got like
What-
45, 50 hours in Elden Ring.
What do you think about Elden Ring?
I really like Elden Ring. I'm not a
Yeah.
huge Souls guy. I
Okay.
definitely bought this because it was like, oh man, what's all the hoopla? 90 something? I was like, God, I gotta buy it. I gotta get it. Most
Yeah.
90 somethings, I'm kind of like, I'm intrigued, you know? Like
Sure.
like Alan Wake. I don't like horror games, but the way people are talking about it, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Elden Ring intrigued me. I like the combat of Souls games because I love a good parry. You know what I mean? Something
for
that's
sure.
challenging like that. But I don't know, top 13.
I'm shocked.
Again, I'm not a big Souls guy.
Yeah, cognitive fix in
but
the chat. Is it recency bias or is it science? I mean, you tell me, because maybe you've played more of this game than I have. I tried so hard to get into this game and it just didn't click for me, but it seems to have clicked for so many fucking people.
Here's the thing.
So many people love this game, but talk to me, Cayman.
Here's the thing. I just realized this whole thing is rigged. This whole thing's rigged. We had someone literally write in "not Bulletstorm" to try
That
to
is true.
prevent what is some consider to be even more important than the Sistine Chapel. Okay, I think they put all of these people voted for Elden Ring because they know it hurts me because the game sucks. Okay, as someone who put over 100 hours in platinum this game, I know honestly this game really is good. There's moments where I wake up or moments where I'm thinking about like what I want to play next, and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I could play Elden Ring and have trophies to get again, because I'm never going to touch this game again unless I can get another platinum for it.
Sure.
Not even kidding.
I just had this moment because I was like, I wonder, like, what was the highest ranking that Elden Ring got? And I type it in, and I'm like, wait, Elden Ring wasn't in a single submission. I was spelling it wrong. I was like, wait, did I just fuck up the entire list somehow? But I was spelling it wrong. So it got a number 2, it got a number 4, it got a number 9, and it got a number 6, which is all combined for 41.
I will say though, because you mentioned it, and I was holding it until you brought it up. The recency bias thing. To be honest with you, I think that like, and it's kind of hard being in the moment and like trying not to be a prisoner of the moment.
For sure.
But I really do think, especially based on my list and a game that I think that we just haven't gotten to yet. Some of the greatest games of all time are coming out right now. Like
you're not wrong.
And that kind of just is what it is. But it's hard to see it for what it is until we get to like 5 years out, 10 years out, and can be a little more objective about it.
For sure. I mean, when you kind of take a step back and think about it from like a design standpoint, I mean, in theory, you would think that like games get better every year, right? So like it makes sense that there's going to be a lot of games within the last few years in this list. But yeah, it's just an interesting thing to kind of think about and try to parse through. Like, is it because it's new or is it because it's that good? And I mean, Liz, it says in the chat, didn't it win Game of the Year? It won Game of the Year like everywhere, like so many places. So like, that's why, being number 13, I'm not necessarily surprised by it. We got a message. Science. Yep. Came in, just pulled in a graphic that just says science on it. Scientists said number 13, Elden Ring, 41 points.
13. What's his nuts? Fucking the guy who makes it, Miyazaki.
What's his nuts?
You know what?
San. What's his nuts, San?
He hates you.
He hates all of us.
This list. That man he is just living for the day he dies. I just know it. Have you ever heard the fact that he said before? He's like, I don't even like the games I make.
I'm not shocked by that.
Like,
I hope
too hard
that's
for
true.
me. I can't even beat the games I make. Like,
Yeah.
fuck
Gosh,
you,
man.
Number 12. This game being number 12 is a shot in my ass to get me to finally go play this game, because I played the original version, but I didn't play its expanded version, released in 2019 on the PS4 with 42 points. Persona 5 Royal. Here's the thing. I'm shocked that this is as high as it is compared to Persona 4 Golden, because playing Persona 5, I think Persona 4 Golden is a better game, but I haven't played Royal. And so many people I have talked to or I've listened to on other podcasts say Royal it truly is what Golden is to Persona 4 for Persona 5. Like the extra story content, the extra character, the extra like part of the year that you get to go through elevates the game in such a way that I really need to go through and play this. Mando, are you a Persona guy?
I am currently playing Persona 5. I just beat Jedi Survivor a few days ago, and Persona 5's brought back up to the current game I'm going to play. I put in about 60 hours, and then like I had to kind of walk away and like get like a palate cleanser, play something else.
Sure.
I think something just came out, and like Starfield came out, and I was like, yeah,
sure.
You know what, I'm going to put this down. But I'm going back to it because these 60 hours have been like some of the best 60 hours I have spent playing a JRPG. Like this is easily one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. I get all the hype. I get it all. I'm trying to now rush through this next, what's going to be like another 60, 70 hours. Cause I need to beat this game. I need to like see what all the hype is about in full, but so far it has been
she's fallen over on my shelf.
A 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like experience.
We got a little Morgana plushie right here, but she's fallen over on my shelf. Because I really love Persona 5. I need to go back and play Royal because Cayman, I believe you played Royal, right?
Okay, so here's the thing. I beat Persona 5.
Yeah.
I got Persona 5 Royal. I got to rough about the same hour mark that it took me to beat Persona 5 and realize, oh my God, I still have so much more of a game left.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was like in the middle of the pandemic, but something had happened. And I was like, I need to like break away to like do something else. Here's the good news is it's on the Switch, right? But for me, as someone is like, if I'm playing Persona, like I am also actively trying to get a platinum because that has been like my dream is to get a platinum for a Persona game.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, boys? The PlayStation Portal is coming right around the corner, and the dreams are about to come true because
plug it.
But we have the Cayman's PlayStation Portal Fund that is open and accepting donations because I'm a broke ass bitch. If you want to donate today, just ask in the chat. Someone's got that Venmo account ready for you.
We're trying to make it happen for our sweet dumpster.
I know, man. We're like halfway there. So just pitch in what you can. We're almost there. I know. What's okay, but seriously though, the jokes aside, it's not really a joke though. I think this game is one of those games where I think if I can move between to and fro, it would be a better experience for me.
Yeah.
Where I think that's why I love Persona 4 Golden so much is because on the Vita, it felt so natural. Where like as much as I love Persona 5, it's also not one that my wife is going to be like, yeah, sure, put it on the TV and let me sit and watch you scroll through text dialogues with high schoolers. Like that's not very visually appealing. With it being on the Switch, you obviously can do that. And you can play Persona 5 Royal right now on your Switch. And I think that's amazing. For me, I want them trophies.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I remember because I had the same experience. And I think I've talked about it on the show before where like part of the reason I loved Golden so much was the play and go aspect of the Vita. And my biggest hang up with 5 was that I felt stuck playing it, having experienced 4 on the go.
Yeah.
And it didn't take down my experience that much, but like, especially, once I passed the 100-hour mark, I'm like, man, I would really love if I could not be stuck to the TV doing this, because also there came a point playing that game where Rose was like, whenever this song comes on, you have to mute the game. It is like the dun, 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 and then the voice comes in. She's like, "I'm a shapeshifter." Rose is like, if I hear her say she's a shapeshifter one more time, I'm gonna
keep
fucking
singing,
lose
keep
my
singing.
mind.
I identify with that so much,
Yeah.
man. My wife, I was playing the game. My wife was like, "Oh, you're playing this game? Okay."
Yeah.
because of that, specifically because of
Headphones.
The song. And I feel you guys because out of those 60 hours, I have probably put in at least 15, 20 on like remote play on either my phone with my Backbone or on my Steam Deck. And even speaking to like Persona 4 Golden, I have it on Steam and it's like deck verified. I love playing that game on my deck.
So
and even that I haven't put a lot of time into because I'm trying to beat 5 first because everybody says that this is the creme de la creme of Persona. So
I think it also is a bit like, what was your first? Like, my first Persona was 4 Golden, so like it was like, oh my god, what the fuck is this franchise? This is amazing. So I think there is something to be said about that too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is like one thing I want to point out I think is really impressive is how many RPGs have been on this list so far.
Oh, for sure.
Especially JRPGs, which I think speaks a lot to our audience of like JRPGs it's like a very niche thing. Either you love them or you hate them. There's really no in between for that. And the fact that there's been so many on this list so far, it's really filled my heart with this joy I don't think I've had in a long time. Sorry, there's a moth that died. It's dead now.
Murderer. No, there's like at least 10 to 15 JRPGs on this list. I didn't check that. That's a good point.
That means there's a high chance Final Fantasy 16 won't be here. Thank goodness.
Got him.
Get the fuck out.
Got him. All right, moving on to number 11 with 43 points, released in the year 2020. A really good year for most people, I would say, was 2020. Originally released on the PS4 as an exclusive to the console. A really fucking good video game. And you might be surprised when I say that video game is Ghost of Tsushima.
What?
At number 11.
I was not expecting that.
You weren't expecting that.
I actually got my years wrong. The Last of Us 2 is 2019, no?
Last of Us 2 is also 2020.
It's also 2020.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I think it came out right after.
Not expecting that.
I remember I was in a fucking rush because I was like, I have to platinum Ghost of Tsushima because it was like I had like 3 days left before The Last of Us Part 2. And I was like, I have to get this platinum because I know once The Last of Us Part 2 comes out, I will not go back to this. So it was like an absolute like grind to the finish line. Fucking amazing game though. God damn.
I really love it. When I submitted my list and the first list to come through with Ghost of Tsushima on it, I think had it at number 1 or maybe number 2. And I was like, I didn't even think about Ghost of Tsushima because I love this game. Cognitive Clips in the chat, very unhappy. This is not a top 20 game in his opinion, but I really love this game. I feel like there is something so special about this game simply as a work of art. Like looking at it visually and aurally, like with the audio, is so impressive to me. This game, and it something as simple as the way that you traverse through the world. There is a map, but if you just swipe on the touchpad,
follow the wind,
a beautiful wind will come and guide you to where you're thinking. Like there's just little touches like that, I think, is what sets this game apart from other open world kind of action based games. Because the stealth at times isn't great. Like there are clunky parts to Ghost of Tsushima, but I think it fucking nails what it does, and I cannot wait for a sequel. All that to say, number 11 might be a little high in my opinion, but I do think this game rules, and I do think it should be on this list. But I will be the first to say 11 does feel a little high for Ghost of Tsushima. Cognitive Clips kind of continues his thought in the chat. Beautiful to look at and definitely worth playing, but I give this one a solid 7 as a whole. I mean, it's definitely close. It's a solid 9 for me. Like it's a really fucking great game, in my opinion.
I love.
Yeah, Mando, what did you play this one?
Yeah, of course. I love this game. I don't have a platinum in this because I don't platinum a lot of games. I have 2 platinums, but this is a game that I have revisited often just to jump into a mess of enemies and slice and dice. Those one-on-one samurai fights
feel so good.
I'm not even a stealth guy, and I've really enjoyed the stealth portions of the game. The story it wasn't great. Like there were points where I was like, all right, I feel like there are
points where it's a little simple.
You're trying to move it along. But I feel like they kind of stuck the landing at the end.
I agree.
With the ungle and everything. And god damn, that game is beautiful. Like, goodness gracious, that game is beautiful.
It also,
I can't wait for a sequel on this.
I also feel like, and Cayman, maybe you remember, you can, or someone in the chat can correct me. I believe this came out after The Last of Us Part 2, And
I think this game came out in July because it came out around my birthday. If I'm not mistaken.
swore this came out
like
right before.
Yeah, and I think Last of Us was right before in June.
I feel like Last of Us was June. This was July. It was
maybe
like within a month of each other.
Maybe I was trying to get the platinum for Last of Us Part 2 before this dropped. Something like
I think that's the way. And someone in the chat, let me know if I'm wrong. But because I remember this game feeling like such a nice palate cleanser with how empty The Last of Us Part 2 left me after finishing that game. But yeah, this game, fucking love Ghost of Tsushima.
If I can just speak to kind of what kind of Clips is diving into, even with his first comment of it not being a top 20 game, I think this is what kind of where we're at right now in the list. And I started to feel like this around in the 20 to 40 episode, even a little bit of the 40 to 60 was anything in this area I'm kind of okay with.
Sure.
Like 100 games. You know how many games there are out there?
There's so many games.
For any of these games to be in the top 100 is like really, really big. Once we got to top 50, I was like, I'm kind of okay with this. Top 15, top 20. The reason we only gave 15 games is because everybody's top 15 games is different. Like, you'd be strapped to find someone that your top 15 is like shares even 10 games that are alike. Even that's the beautiful thing about games, man. Not every game's for everyone, but the games that are for you, they're for you.
That's a great point because throughout all of our lists, I think it was like 404 separate games were submitted over all the different lists. So a lot of fucking games.
Yeah, a lot of games.
Next up, this one is a bit special because we're going into the top 10, and this is a game that I think. There's so much that could be said about this game. It was originally released in 2005 on the PS2, but I think to talk about this game, we're bringing in another special guest because I think he can put into words what Cayman wishes he could put into words. Kingdom Hearts 2 at number 10 with 43 points. Welcome to the show, Nick Sawalski, back. Just listen to that song.
Just get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts number 10. Crack the top 10. Nick, talk to me about this achievement of a video game.
Wow. Dumpster boy, the trash man has arrived to dump you out, baby. It has arrived. That's right. Number 10, Kingdom Hearts 2. One of the greatest games of all time. And that's why it's top 10, Cayman. I love Kingdom Hearts. I even have
we got a Keyblade, we got Funko Pops, we got a shirt.
I'm not even in my man cave right now. My man cave has more stuff. So yes, I love Kingdom Hearts. So kind of like how Elliot did, bullet points. We've seen a lot of games that have sequels that always improve. You guys talked about Majora's Mask improving on Ocarina.
Sure.
It kind of just made me think, what does Kingdom Hearts do well? And it combines the majesty and magic of Disney and then the Final Fantasy tropes and the silliness. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 expands on that. Now, people might say it's a button masher, which it can be, but if you're looking for a challenge for a lot of you video gamers, those critical and proud modes, they expanded on the combat with Kingdom Hearts 2. The story, they took these stories about guilt and friendship and darkness and how to overcome it and then expanded on it. I really loved the Disney worlds and adding, Aurons in this game. And we talked about that with Final Fantasy X, our boy. So the summons, the music of Kingdom Hearts is incredible. And this was before it got convoluted, right? Where even at 13
I'm sorry. Before?
At 13 years old in 2005, I understood it because we didn't have all these things. I was like, all right, this bad guy got split into two. Game one was his one half. Game two is the other. And then after that, I get
easy.
It's crazy. But it was at 13. And it was just at that age, I remember playing this and Star Fox Adventures at the same time. And it was just it was just a great time. So it was really magical to just be able to go to Disney worlds and the combat and kind of just have this adventure with Donald and Goofy. And the boss fights were amazing. And it's just a really special game to me and a lot of people having that Disney element, having Final Fantasy, because I'm a big Final Fantasy guy. 10 was on the list. 9's my favorite. 16's close now, Cayman, as we've talked about. But 10 is also, being raised Catholic, 10 is up there. So, yeah, Kingdom Hearts is just an incredible game. It's something that I play every year. I remember before KH3 came out, I played every single game before Kingdom
all
Hearts
19 of them,
out.
all point twos, all
of them.
365
they released those.
reverses.
Yeah, so I think it's just such a fantastic game, and it just means a lot. And a lot of these games we talk about nostalgia, right? Like when we talk about Super Mario or 64, right? It's like, is it still as good? It's better on the DS. But for a lot of us gamers, like this game still holds up if you really do go back. Regardless if you like the story or not, it's just a really fun adventure and about friendship, love, loss, and dealing with darkness. And as a 13-year-old, you know, going through your depression phases and going through your hormones and everything, this was just fun. So I love this game. It's
Cayman, let your heart be your guiding key and let us know what you think about Kingdom Hearts at number 10. Scientifically a better game than Bulletstorm.
Here's the thing. I actually have the Kingdom Hearts collection. I picked it up on sale back, I don't know, like maybe a year or so ago. It was right around the same time I had this idea and never followed through with it, where Patrick and I were going to suffer through different things. I was going to play a game and he was going to play a game, and then we had to review the games live on air, and we got to choose what we played. Somehow I ended up getting him a copy of, I think it was like 13 Sentinels Aegis. Because I was like, I'm just curious to see what you're going to get going for something that JRPG. And I ended up buying myself the Kingdom Hearts collection, and we never did it. So it's still sitting there. So here's your call to action. I will play this if you donate to the PS Plus portal. Call back.
Dude,
if we get to $200, Cayman will play through and review.
I will play and review all 3 Kingdom Hearts games.
And with that, you'll see a donation coming your way, because that will be a treat. So I would love that.
Mondo, talk to me. Did you play Kingdom Hearts 2?
I did. I played them all, and this one was just, again,
this one was the one.
It builds on the first one. If I'm not mistaken, this is where they introduced Roxas.
Yes.
So like
that intro,
man, that intro part is like, don't get me wrong, it's a slow start for like an hour or two, but after that, there's no letting go, man. It's pushing. And like you said, that proud mode, that is no joke, man. You get stuck in the beginning of the game trying to get through proud mode. I love this game. And as a big Final Fantasy person, it was just awesome to see all these characters come to life in another game, in another form, in another story. Sephiroth is my guy. That's my dude. And so like, just for him to be the big baddie I've been told that there's another big baddie, but he's a big enough baddie
for sure
to have to fucking fight in each game. So I don't know, man. This is up there, man. I'm not mad at a top 10 finish for this. You know,
I remember I've talked about that I borrowed a friend's PS2 just to play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I remember, and Nick, help me out here because I haven't played it since then. Is there a scene toward the end? I think it's 2, where there's like this giant battle that you're in, and you're Sora just fucking flying around fighting like hundreds of Heartless. Is that 2 that happens?
Yes.
In?
Yeah.
Yes. In 2005, that was incredible. You were in a valley, and you were also flying around with hundreds of Heartless.
I had never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
In 2005, and it was a really, really cool moment. At some point, I've still not played 3. I started 3, but I never continued. So I at some point, maybe Cayman, I'll play along with you, and we can do a full deep dive together.
Well, you know what? It's on the audience at this point. So
it's on the audience at this point.
If you guys in the audience can come up with $100 as soon as you want, you still got time. I'm sitting here.
Nick, we always love having you. Thank you for coming on and sharing the gospel that is Kingdom Hearts 2. We love having you on the show. Go be simple and clean for me. What do you think about that?
Hey, like you said, let your heart be your guiding key.
Let's go, doggy dog.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Can you believe it? Top 10. Unbelievable.
Top 10.
Next up, we're back to the year 2020. Now we mentioned just 2 games ago that Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020. Is that what we're about to talk about? You'll hear after these words from our sponsors. We don't have sponsors. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to build it up. 43 points released in 2020 on the Nintendo Switch. That is Animal Crossing New Horizons. Fucking great game. Like we've talked about this game.
What a
on
time
this
to be
show.
alive.
Truly, if you follow us on Instagram, I put up my wife Rose sent me a clip. That's the Vince McMahon meme with the caption, "Dad, what was it like playing Animal Crossing in 2020?" It's just like it truly was. Like I've said it before on the show, it was magic. Like in such a dark fucking time, being able to go to your friends' islands and just have this semblance of normalcy with fucking KK Slider and fucking Bo and fucking like
and a crook and freaking man.
Fuck, what's his name? Fuck.
And Nook.
Tom Nook. Yeah, Tom Nook.
Tom Nook.
Yeah, cognitive clips in the chat. 565 hours and Assassin's Creed New Horizons. I almost said Animal Crossing New Horizons. I was around the same. Like I was between 500 and 1,000 hours in this game because we played this game for like 15 hours a day, like if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Came in.
We would wake up in the morning, immediately start working on the island.
Yeah,
and it just lasted all day. And it was like we just pass off the controller, be like, "Oh, have you done the turnip stocks yet?
Yeah.
No. All right, then pass it off. It's time to get ready. Let's see if we can hook up with Elijah Wood.
What are they on your island? What price they paying for them on your island?
We would have group texts like, okay, what's your price? What's your price? Ooh, mine's 109. Everyone come over.
You know,
gates open.
Did you get to the point of going on a website to do that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I sure did.
What's funny is what is absolutely hilarious about this is that I did turnip stocks years ago for New Leaf on the 3DS. And like and so when people started getting really big into it, it wasn't like this hipster moment of like I was doing it before it was cool. Like it was just like this, it felt just so, for once in my life, I was like, wait, people are weird like me. Like that was the first time I think I finally felt like people were weird like me. We all have that in us. We all have that dog in us. That dog is Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you can say about Animal Crossing New Horizons, but it's just like I so often I'll hop into my island once every at this point every year, and I walk around and I'm like, I get sad walking around the island because that magic just isn't there anymore because we're not all playing anymore. Yeah. And I just hope that the next Animal Crossing to come out can hit the same way that this one did, obviously without all the trauma of a pandemic. But so Mando, you played this game a lot too?
Oh yeah, 100%. When it came out, I remember telling somebody, I was like, yeah, life right now sucks, so I'm gonna go start another life somewhere else.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, that island was life. It was just a good time, man. Jumping in Discord with a bunch of people, talking shit all day, fixing up the island, going to each other's island. I'm not gonna lie, the experience of going to other people's island was horrendous. And I mean, it wasn't fun. It was arguably one of the worst multiplayer experiences I've ever had in my life. It was terrible. But the game was so fucking good that I was willing to go through that to 100%. And yeah, man, it was just a great game. And I think it was both because the game was incredible and also because of the pandemic. Because I remember playing that game with people who otherwise would have never been playing that game if we weren't in the pandemic. Don't get me wrong, I don't credit the Switch's sales and success to the pandemic, but my God, I wonder what the actual bump was for people who got a Switch simply just to play Animal Crossing during the pandemic.
People that I try to hunt Switches down.
Just about. And that was a time where you couldn't find them anymore, and it was because of Animal Crossing, because everyone and their mother was like, this cute little simple game. I got $400 to spend because I'm not spending that on a weekend anymore because I'm not going anywhere. It's really interesting that dynamic in gaming over those 2 years was was really interesting.
There were at least 6 or 7 people at my job that got a Switch in Animal Crossing, and then Liz in the chat, that's why she got her Switch. Like, and I knew 3 or 4 personal friends too. Like,
Yeah.
it became so big that people were going out and buying Switches just for Animal Crossing. And I remember, I think one of my favorite memories of Animal Crossing New Horizon, and I think I've talked about it on the show before, but I'm sure multiple people listening were a part of this because I know Cayman was a part of this. We had a birthday party for a friend.
We did
in Animal Crossing, and we all my island at that point, I had the most like fish and butterflies and shit. So we were like, we'll host, and we ran around our museum and took so many photos in the museum. It was like
that's
like
awesome.
A religious experience.
That's
like
so
honestly,
awesome.
it brings us together, man. Like video games bring us together. And I think one of the things that I've noticed definitely, because we've had all these people that have come on and joined us over all of these episodes, is that more often than not, we have time sync up with like what games were on their list for these, right? And so many times they've been like, oh, this was on my list and this is why. And that story involves the fact that it was like, my friends and I did LAN parties together doing Halo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Halos. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, or I remember playing this game with my buddies, and we were playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare with my friends, or like Animal Crossing birthday parties, like these kind of things. Like video games bring us together, even though it seems like such an isolated thing. It's not. It is a movement that we can all be part of.
No, for sure. That's so powerful because and I'm only bringing this in because it's really fresh. With Fortnite coming back on Friday, like OG Fortnite, and it's so funny because I've never experienced in another game where so many people have been like, yeah, you know what? If they just brought back this stuff, I would come back and play this game. And a lot of people say that, and you don't know how serious they are. Mm-hmm. But people were dead serious about Fortnite. They brought that old map back. And like you see the reels and the memes online of like, yo, the boys are back. Like we're back. And I was playing over the weekend with my boys. I played on Friday, but we played last night. And like dudes woke up this morning like, yo, like Fortnite's really back. Like we're really back. Like this is crazy. And we're just running around and we're just like, yo, there's so many memories. On this map right now. Like I can't even play. Like I don't know. It's just it's.
No, I get that. It's like an emotional thing for sure.
It is.
Like
it is.
So I kind of missed this. I knew that it happened, but I don't. Is it like a season of this map, or is it like a short event?
Man, I hope it's not a season. They better just leave it. Why can't they leave it? They're not making enough money to host the server. Come on, bro.
Sure.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I opened up Fortnite for the first time in a really long time, and it's looked so different. And like their creative mode has expanded so much. And it's kind of just like a plethora of options now. But now OG Fortnite is one of those options. Like I guess like there's a bunch of creators, and Epic is technically one of the creators. Gotcha. And OG Fortnite, both in build mode and in non-build mode, are like options you can like jump into and matchmake for. Cool. And yeah, man, it's the old map from like I want to say like somewhere like in like season 4 time. It's not like the very, very first map. But it was kind of like when Fortnite was at its peak.
Like the map that everyone thinks of.
Yeah. That everybody identifies with. Yeah, with all the best locations and stuff. And yeah, man, like I was like, damn, we're really doing this right now. And it just took us all back. Like, could you imagine jumping into like a Halo 2 server right now?
Oh,
with a bunch of people and like playing the memories you would have, especially if you were jumping in with the people you were even playing with at that time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we need to schedule a day for fucking Spotlight Games crew. We're all getting on Animal Crossing again. We're going to each other's islands. We're seeing what the state is. Yeah, because that'd be dope.
The only shame of that game is that you couldn't invite more people to your island.
That's true. That is true. Maybe on Switch too. That'll be better. Okay. Next up, number 8. We're inching closer to number 1. Number 8, released originally in 1999, I believe. This is our last 90s game of the list. Released on the Game Boy Color, Pokemon Gold, and Pokemon Silver. When we talked about Red, Blue, Yellow last week, there were some people in the chat that were like, as long as Gold and Silver is higher, I'm fine with this being where it is. And here we are, number 8. This was multiple people's number 1. Because we're jumping. This is our first huge jump in points. We were at 43 points. Now we're at 56 points. The biggest jump so far in points. But all that to say, I never played this game. So I played a lot of blue, and then I just like never got gold or silver. We just never had that as a family. So, but I know Mando, judging by your face, you played a lot of gold and silver. I know Cayman has.
Can the chat correct me, or even Cayman? Crystal is also in this line, right? It's gold, silver, crystal. Yeah,
Probably.
You need to go. You need to go play crystal.
Crystal, okay.
Yeah, but to me, crystal is like the number one Pokemon game. I think it was in my on my list. The Pokemon game I chose. I try not to put too many games of a single franchise, but Crystal was mine. This is well-deserved top 10 Pokemon game. I think the story. Oh man, I just remember getting to the towers where the dogs then break loose from there, and it kind of just. I remember the world sort of opening up in that way. Mm-hmm. After beating the game, trying to chase down the dogs, trying to find the legendary. I don't know, man. There was something magical about this one, and it stuck out more than the rest. Maybe it was the age of the time. Maybe I was super impressionable, but this is my Pokemon game for sure.
It seems to be a lot of people's Pokemon game that I've talked to since this list started happening. Cayman, you've talked a lot about Gold and Silver before, right? Like this is one of your. Is this your favorite Pokemon?
So I'm more prone to go back just for nostalgia reasons and saying like red and blue, and specifically I would probably even say yellow, probably my favorite of all time. However, there's something really cool about the ending of this game where like the whole game opens up and it's like, oh, do you want to revisit Pallet Town? Do you want to revisit the Kanto region? Guess what?
Oh, that's cool.
You can.
Yeah.
In that moment of like, holy fuck, like it's like that. Yeah. It's like the Tears of the Kingdom moment where you go to the underneath for the first time,
and it's like, oh my god, there's a whole
yeah, like that kind of that shit is like it's such a really cool moment that like was so unique at the time and honestly still is. I don't really think there's really ever like even Tears of the Kingdom, I think to a degree is like really the only thing is like going back and revisiting, but that's part built in, right? So like what the map is, this was like an unexpected, like, let's go visit again. Let's hit that point for you. When I think that that's like a really cool thing. And yeah, I definitely, even though I don't think this is my personal favorite, like I said, just for nostalgia purposes, this is like it is epitome of what Pokemon was, and for a lot of people.
Do you think there is a world in which we get a Let's Go Pikachu type remake of Gold, Silver, Crystal? Because if you do think we can get that, I'm going to wait. But if you don't, then I'm going to go back and play this game.
It's a good question you ask. I'm not sure if one would assume we would get something. Maybe not a Let's Go Pikachu, but at least some sort of reboot of this that would be the chibi art style. And I think that would be really smart. I think that would be an easy moneymaker for Nintendo. But I think once again, we have to remember this is Nintendo. And apparently the one thing Nintendo hates more than anything outside of their fan base is making money. So who knows?
Yeah. I think that ship has sailed. I'll be honest with you, Patrick. Because it's not even just the Let Go games. I think they were trying to do something in making Pokemon more tangible. Because remember that game came out not too long after Pokemon Go came out, and this concept of spinning the Pokemon, catching and doing that, I don't know. I feel like they would have revisited it by now. Gotcha. I was really hoping for that too.
I guess I'm gonna have to go back, fucking dig out the Game Boy Color. All right, number 7. We got another jump on our hands to 65 points.
Whoa.
Originally released. And we're seeing exponential growth from this point on in the list. Number 7, 65 points, released in 2018 on the PS4. Let's see. This is 5 exclusives in a row so far. Interesting little note there. God of War 2018.
It had to be done.
It had to be done. Science. We relied on science, and science delivered. Because this game fucking rips. It rules. It's great. It's so funny. When God of War Ragnarok came out last year, we brought a friend of ours on the show to do a spoiler cast, and he had been like, I just don't think that Ragnarok hit the same way God of War 2018 hit for me. And I was like, I don't know, man. I really think that Ragnarok is a step up. And the further I get from Ragnarok, the more I'm like, I think he was right. And I think God of War 2018 is the better game. For whatever reason, whether it's that it was that like kind of breakout moment of this is what Kratos feels like now. This is a new God of War. I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it was just like the story as a whole, but they're like, this game is so fucking good. And I've gone back and played this more since Ragnarok came out, partially because I have it on Steam Deck, but this was for a little bit. I was like, is this like a top 5 for me? Because it really is. It's such a good game. Mando, I don't think we've ever talked about God of War 2018 though. What are your thoughts on this game?
I love this game. And to your point, the further I get away from Ragnarok, the less I feel like it was this super incredible thing. Because there were moments where I felt like it was more, but I don't know if more was better. Sure. In some ways. Where I feel like God of War's, I feel like the story in that vacuum was a better story than the story in Ragnarok. But I also think that Ragnarok has the challenge of being a sequel and having to stick a landing and please us with what we were hoping and expecting or whatever it might be. But I do agree. But for me, it's a smidge better than Ragnarok. Yeah. And this game is incredible. Like it's so good.
I'm glad that
Valkyrie fights are like, good God.
Yeah, for sure. Cayman, what are your thoughts on this being number 7?
So I like it here more than I like Ragnarok, and I think the only reason I say that is I think Ragnarok, or I think God of War was an earth-shattering moment, and it was something I don't think we've necessarily seen done the same way, where we take a Kratos who, for ostensibly at that point, what is that, 4, 5, 6 games? You would have there were 2 games on the PlayStation 2. There were 2 games on the PlayStation, the PSP, and there was 2 games on the PlayStation 3, right? Yeah. And this Kratos is angry, and he fucks, and he kills, and that is the only thing that this man knows how to do. That's it. He's the one dimension of what this character is. And don't get me wrong, I love those games. I love God of War 3 is still one of my favorite games of all time. I love God of War 3. But I think for me, what they did here by taking this one-dimensional character, bringing him back from all this time off, and then dropping him and being like, no, he's matured. He's grown up. His heart's broken. He's angry, but at the same time, he's not angry for the same reason. He's angry because he's not a better person. And all of a sudden, we took a character that a lot of people just kind of made jokes and memes about, and we turned him into someone that you're like, I genuinely care for this man now. And I don't think we've seen a video game really do that before, where you take a character that's been established as one thing and really changing the audience opinion in such a meaningful way. That I do think God of War has that level, like Super Mario 64. It has that level of importance that I don't think we typically see. So yeah, I think it's great. I love it.
This was the first time I ever cared about Kratos, because I played 1 and like a little bit of 1 and 2 when I borrowed that PS2 I was talking about earlier in the episode for Kingdom Hearts. But to your point, like it was very much like, oh, I'm just killing shit, which is fun, but like I don't give a shit about this character. But seeing the trailers come out for this game and hearing the press talk about it, I'm like, oh, wait a second, do I want to play a God of War game? And then I played this game and it floored me how fucking good the story was, the gameplay was. And I was like, wait a second. Kratos is like a fucking really good character. Yeah. Like just from like a narrative standpoint, incredible arc. And even though I do think this game is better than its sequel, I think the arc overall is still, it's a fucking great sequel. So yeah, and then, first time chatter, Schwag Daddy 69 in the chat. I believe that's my big brother. Andrew says, Cayman, you're so fucking handsome.
Whoa! Hey, thanks, Andrew. That's the first time you said anything nice to me outside of like things like your football team fucking sucks.
Well, that's true. Your fantasy football team is
my
garbage.
fantasy team is dog shit. You're right.
But yeah, I was glad that this game made the list. Actually, Andrew started playing this game once and never finished it. Andrew, this is your sign. Go back and finish this fucking game.
Yeah.
All right, number 6. We're only moving up an incremental amount from 65 points to 67 points. But this game was released in the year 2023.
Mm.
A lot of people are saying that this could be the game of the year this year. And to talk about this, we're bringing on our last additional guest for this week, episode 100, friend of the show, the Mouth of the South, Liz McLean, to talk about Baldur's Gate 3. Number 6.
You had me worried for a second.
Get me
Welcome
in.
to the show, Liz. Get her in.
Happy to be here. Congratulations on 100 episodes. Proud of you both, always.
Thanks, buddy. Liz McLean with it, 2014. Drop the Liz. That's her Twitch channel. She Twitch streams. But when I saw that Baldur's Gate 3 made not the top 10, but the top 6, I was like, Liz, we got to get Liz on the show to talk about.
Doesn't
Baldur's
shock
Gate
me.
3. Doesn't shock you at all. But I believe, but this was your number 1, wasn't it?
Easy, number 1.
Easy.
And at
Talk
the
to me about
point, and here's where I think, like, I know you all were talking about like recency bias and things like this.
Yes.
When the link was announced, hey guys, we're doing top 100. Here's a link where you can put your top 15 games, whatever you said.
It's a really good impression, by the way.
Like thanks. It was like, I've been working on it. It was like 2 to 3 weeks after this game fully released. And I think it was the perfect timing. When I put this in my number 1, I was still in Act 1. I am now halfway through Act 3, and holy fucking shit, I would put it at my 0 if I fucking could. You don't understand. I'm keeping it on brand by being the horniest person in this podcast forever.
It's fair.
I will never give my crown up. You can fuck people in this game, man. Are you kidding me?
You can fuck so many people in this game.
You can fuck every almost. I just wouldn't be shocked if they were just like every NPC's fuckable.
Listen,
fuckable the game.
If I didn't just pack my Astarion shirt into a box yesterday, you would have bet your sweet ass I would have been wearing it right now. And just my favorite thing about this game,
please.
There's no right or wrong way you can play it.
Correct.
And that shit, you guys can just take that home with you and just think about it. There is no right or wrong way to play this game. I started playing it, and then Trevor started playing it on the PS5. Or no, he started playing it on his PC, but with a controller. Whack. Anyways.
Whack. Wackadoo.
Yeah, he was playing it on PC with a controller. Anywho, he was like, well, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, that's okay. I didn't know what I was doing either. There's no right or wrong way. He's like, that's not fucking making sense to me. I'm like, I felt like, I don't know. Like,
you got behind him like the film Ghost. You put your arms around him. You grabbed that controller from his hands. And you just said, just go fuck Astarion right now. Is that what happened?
Literally. No, I wish. He was not on the Astarion train for a while. And then he like respect him a little bit. And then he was like, Astarion's pretty fucking dope. I'm like, I've known this from the first time I laid eyes on that little twink. I knew it.
Let's go.
But there is no right or wrong way to play this game. I think this game is stunning. Even on the little minute things in the background are insane. Insanely beautiful. The storyline is great. The character interactions are fantastic. The characters themselves, all fuckable.
Have you fucked the bear yet? Have you fucked the bear?
Okay. I have 2 playthroughs. I have like my normal playthrough that I'm in Act 3 with. And then I'm doing the Dark Urge playthrough, which I highly recommend you do because it unlocks a whole new part of the story and it's very interesting. And I'm only in Act 1 on that playthrough. So on my first playthrough, I fucked up the Act 2 and Halson isn't in my party anymore.
That's what happened to me. That's what happened to me.
So I can't fuck the bear.
I know. I was trying to fuck the bear, dude.
I love Halson though, not just because he is literally a bear and literally a human bear. In both terms.
Yes.
You know?
Both ways. Yep.
Both ways. Yeah. He's just a great character, all around wholesome guy. Love him. I love a bear. Love them.
Sure. I mean, Trevor was on this podcast 3.5 hours ago.
Yeah, I know.
And oh, we know.
3.5
Mondo,
hours ago.
Mondo, have you played Baldur's Gate 3?
No, and it is on my list. Not even on my list. It's like the next game I need to play
Yeah.
after Persona 5 or because I want to play it so that I can actually say what's the game of the year, which is apparently this one. Like
it to me,
it's this one and another one.
This is gonna sound a little biased.
Sure.
This one's by a fucking landslide, and I will literally riot in the fucking streets if it doesn't.
Okay. Well,
You can fuck people, man.
True. That is true. I mean, I'm not here to argue against it per se. I just haven't finished it yet. It is the next game. I'm once I finish Alan Wake 2, I'm going to back to Baldur's Gate 3. Because I put in like, I don't know, 10 hours maybe. So I've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, and there's so much little like minor things you can do. There's one of my friends that's playing that has like 140, maybe 50 hours in that range, and is still in Act 1.
Wow.
Just gonna leave that for you to chew on.
I'm chewing, baby. Cayman, is there anything that you would like to say about Baldur's Gate 3 before we move on to number 5? And Liz, just stick with us for this next game too. You're gonna thank me.
Once again, I think Liz really nailed it on the head. This game is this is my front runner right now for game of the year. Obviously, RoboCop I haven't finished yet, but maybe that will be. I don't know. No, Baldur's Gate 3 is my game of the year front runner right now because it is the first time, and I feel like a while, that like I've played a game that feels like nothing I've ever played before.
Sure.
In such a wonderful way. And once again, I think this has that also has that bite that Elden Ring had, where it was like, this is the conversation you want to be part of. And I think that that's such a really cool thing to have too. So I think that it's a great game. And honestly, even recency bias, whatever you want to say, I think this is like spot on for its location. This game will be talked about for decades to come.
I agree.
I'm excited to get back to it. I'll tell you what, number 5 is a game that we've been talking about for more than a decade. And it's a game that I think we will continue to talk about. It was released in 2011 on the 360, the PS3, and the PC with 79 points. We're jumping up by 12 points. This was on a lot of people's lists. That game is The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Yeah.
Liz, the reason I was like, you know what? Justice for Skyrim, because I remember in the first episode of the Top 100, Brando was on the show to say that Skyrim was a boring game, and you lost your mind in the chat for good reason, because this game, look, I've talked on this show before about the bad experience I had with this game when it first launched, because I played it on the PS3 and my copy got broken because of bad tech. But going back to this game last year and playing it the way it was meant to be played with no fucking like game breaking issues, game fucking rules. Like it's a masterpiece of a video game. And I know Cayman, one of the biggest Skyrim fans I know is you.
Yes, 1000%. Skyrim, I mean, outside of Bulletstorm, Skyrim is probably the other game that I've played more than any other game. I mean, Bulletstorm still should be number one. Science, I don't know, whatever. No, Skyrim, like, here's the thing. And Mando and I had a conversation about this earlier, about how like people were upset about Starfield this year being like, it's just like Fallout and like that kind of thing. Whereas like, I don't disagree. I feel like Starfield is like Fallout. What hurts is like, can we just get a game that might be maybe a little bit more like Skyrim?
Sure.
Because I think Skyrim is like that perfect mix of like, because you're walking everywhere, you're stumbling into things in real time. You're invested in all of these really crazy quest lines and story arcs. The Dark Brotherhood quest line is arguably the best quest of any single video game or RPG ever. It is just so freaking good. So I think for me, like Skyrim is the fucking, that's exactly what I want. I want more Skyrim. Fucking port it to everything. Port it to my fridge. I'd play it on the fridge if I had a fridge that could play it. Hell, PlayStation Portal, I'll play it on that too for you. If we
can get it to $200.
Okay, my wife's gonna kill me. She messaged me because she's been watching the show. She goes, Cayman, stop asking strangers on the internet for money. And
you can't be stopped.
I'm shameless.
You can't be stopped.
I gave you $20 and I'm not a stranger on the internet. I've been to your house.
That is
true. This is all true. Chat's popping off right now. We got Kale in the chat just joining us. Mike came back at the perfect time. This is the best game of all time. It's number 5 according to science. So watch your mouth. And then my brother says, I realize why I knew Cayman is a bitch in this moment. I don't get it, but feel free to elaborate in the chat, Andrew.
It's got to be about the Dark Brotherhood, right?
It's got to be about the Dark Brotherhood.
Fair, probably.
It's got to be about the Dark Brotherhood.
For anything he said fair at this point.
Mondo,
so you're telling me someone else is busting your balls besides me? I don't like that.
Yeah, it's not good. Mondo, I'm sure you've put so many hours.
Yeah, Skyrim was Skyrim was in my top 15. It was on the low end of my top 15, but this was my introduction to the Elder Scrolls actually, and it was just incredible, man. Like the exploration, I remember that first, not the first dragon battle, because I feel like the first one was okay, but the second one is the one that like grabbed me, and I was like, holy shit, this game is like really doing some wild stuff. The quest lines, the RPG mechanics of it, and period. I don't know, and again, it was my introduction into the Elder Scrolls, and so like even just playing a game like that, I was like, oh man, what the hell have I been missing? Like,
for sure.
And so yeah, man, this is incredible. Every time I've restarted this game plenty of times, on and on a few consoles and stuff. And every time I'm in that cart, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
That's the thing. Starfield was missing for me.
One more time, baby.
Starfield's missing that like moment. And I think Skyrim has like one of the most iconic intros to any
video game.
It's it's an iconic intro when that intro is memed much that like my own mother would be like, yeah, I know that from somewhere. That's how you know you peaked at Skyrim, and I will stand there. Bethesda peaked at Skyrim. Come at me.
So far, yeah.
You ain't lying.
So
if
far,
he's lying, he's done it.
It's funny that we're talking about this because literally 3 days ago, I shared in like a Discord channel with some of my friends that a meme that's like, feel old yet? Skyrim was released 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and 2 years ago.
That is true. And it's probably going to be released at least one more time.
Dude,
Please.
You know what? It's so good. This is probably the game that I've probably like replayed the most.
Yeah.
And some of them I haven't even finished it. I'm just like, wow, that was so good. I have to make another character. I'm like halfway through. I have to do another one. And like I'm speaking for myself and Trevor here. Trevor is the exact same way, but his toxic trait is he makes the same character when he says he's gonna do something else, and then does the exact same shit he's done in his 12 other playthroughs. That's when he starts it. He's gonna do something different, but he always ends up doing the Dark Brotherhood, and then goes, "It's just too good. I can't stop."
Dude, I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna be this particular character this time, and I still always end up using a sword in one hand and like an elemental spell in the other every time. And you know what? Every time it feels amazing.
Well, Trevor's toxic because I'll literally look up. I'll be like watching YouTube videos or like a Twitch stream or something, and I'll like look up to the TV, and he's just standing in a corner going. With his hands, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm getting my magicka up. I'm like, yep. You're cheesing, dude.
He is a
man
of big brains.
Min-maxing.
Maybe. Yeah. I will say, if you give me anything RPG that's like fantasy medieval times, I'm there all day, brother.
Let me tell you about this game called Tales of Arise.
I thought you were going to say Bulletstorm, and I was about to leave.
No, I was going to save you the agony of that one for
Thank God for once.
Andrew in the chat just brought out a fucking deep cut. He said, I would argue Wet is peak Bethesda. I go to Google. I'm like, I remember the video game Wet, but I don't remember it being a Bethesda game. Published by Bethesda Softworks in 2009. Wet was a great fucking game.
It was a game.
Literally never heard of it.
It was a great game. Oh, Liz, you're gonna love it. Just the box art alone, you're gonna love.
Yeah.
Skyrim top 5, number 5 with 79 points. I mean, we did it.
Y'all did it.
In fact, I think we can leave it here. We don't need to know.
We don't need to know.
Just kidding. Liz, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, brothers.
Always appreciate it.
Brother.
Chat.
Brother.
Oh, we're about to be popping off.
Oh, we're popping off a show.
We're popping
Later.
off, brother. Number 4 with 85 points. We're jumping up again. We're past the 70s into the 80s. Released in 2017 on the Nintendo Switch. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
This game ties for the most number 1 submissions that we got. It didn't get enough to go all the way up to number 1, but this game was on a lot of people's lists.
Tied for most number 1s and ended up being number 4.
Yeah, well, very interesting, and I can kind of explain why when we get there.
Oh, maybe a lot of 3s, 4s, and stuff. I guess
right. But yeah, this game, it had 8 or I think 6 total submissions. It was in a lot of lists. But this game, look, we've talked about it, especially this year because of Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like Breath of the Wild was a top 10 game for me until Tears of the Kingdom came out. And now I feel like Tears of the Kingdom just took its place, in my opinion, because I feel like Breath of the Wild was the proof of concept for what they wanted to do with Tears of the Kingdom. Question. Yes.
So with Tears of the Kingdom coming out,
yes,
and I've played both, obviously, too. Do we just remove Breath of the Wild entirely from every list? Like, it's like, we've replaced it with Tears of the Kingdom. We don't need Breath of the Wild.
I don't know. I think it probably will drop down my list a little bit. But I think it would still be in the top half of a list for me. Like, let's say if I have my own top 100, which I do on GG. I don't remember where it is right now, but I mean, it's like, if it's interesting because if I have the choice between playing one or the other, I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. Sure. Like I don't see, even though it sounds kind of goofy, I don't see a reason to go play Breath of the Wild anymore now that there's Tears of the Kingdom, unless you want to experience like that specific story. It's kind of the only reason I see it. But I mean, the game still rules. I just think there's a better version of it now, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because this is like Ocarina and Tears is Majora's Mask. But it doesn't feel the same. Like you do feel like there is a reason to go play Ocarina. Yeah. Versus like I do feel like this kind of just took this place of Breath of the Wild. Like Tears to the place of Breath of the Wild. When this came out, I was like, oh, this is the best Zelda game ever made. And then Tears came out
to the top.
And then when Tears came out, I was like, fuck, this is the best Zelda game ever made. This game is incredible. And I will say that the one thing I did ended up missing in Tears that this game has is just fighting the ancient machines and all that. But that's that's it,
Fun fact about Breath of the Wild: this game has cost me thousands of dollars in real life because I played this game so much when it first came out that I got a fucking eye problem. That was the genesis of my degenerative fucking eyes now, because I was playing this game so much. I go to the eye doctor and they're like, "Are you not blinking?" I was like, "I must not be because I've played 200 hours of Breath of the Wild." And they're like, "Well, you have some real problems now because of playing this fucking game." Jeez. So this game has cost me a lot of money, but. Actually, I would. If I could go back in time, I would absolutely change that from happening. But a testament to how many hours I put into this video game. Yeah. Little fucking screen.
Great DLC too.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Really good DLC. And that motorcycle.
Ooh, the motorcycle, yeah. The hero's path was so good. Yeah.
I agree. Moving into the top 3, where it's taken hours to get to this point, going all the way back to number 104, but we're in the top 3 now. We're going back to the year 2020 with 90 points, released on the PlayStation 4, The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
We already knew. So this is when it starts getting interesting to me.
Wait a minute.
Mando, if you're putting pieces together.
I already put them together. Put them together, man. No way.
This game... I mean, we've talked so much about this game. This game tied Breath of the Wild for having the most number 1 submissions which we'll get to at the end of the list.
Whoa, okay. That throws me hardcore for a loop.
Yeah, this is when there are pieces falling into place here. But this game, so this is, again, it's funny if you look back, there's only been two multi-console games in the top like 15, and it was Skyrim and it was Baldur's Gate. Everything else has been a console exclusive, which I think is super interesting.
Elden Ring.
Let's see that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Elden Ring.
Yeah. So the top 12 has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now 8. 8 of the top 12 so far have been console exclusives, which is so interesting to me. But it makes sense. Like if a team is only putting their work into one build, they're not having to split their time. You know, I mean, this is a science-based list. Something tells us
also
that
the reason we buy consoles, right? Like 100%. We buy these consoles for these games.
Yeah,
100%. But this game being at number 3, I think makes sense. This is in my top 3 personal video games of all time. It delivers on what I think is the best video game of all time. But I mean, we've talked about The Last of Us Part 2 on the show. We've spent hours talking about The Last of Us Part 2. It's to the point like I don't even know what else to say at this point other than play The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2. But Cayman, how do you feel about Last of Us Part 2 at number 3 in the top 100?
I'm a bit shocked it's this high.
Okay.
Like I thought top 20, sure, for sure.
Sure.
The hearing though that this was tied with Breath of the Wild for the most number 1 votes blows my fucking mind, because this would be something that like I don't think I would consider to be like a number 1. I think this is without a doubt one of the greatest games ever made. And I think it really shows how Naughty Dog is just on a completely different level from like every other developer right now.
Agreed.
Like they exist on their own plane. You don't need to worry about anything. Just let them do their shit and they're going to be fine. I think it tells a beautiful story and I think that it's incredible, but I'm shocked. I think the reason why I'm shocked by this is how divisive I think this game was.
100%.
That it would end up this high up. I'm you know what, man, fuck it, I'm here for it. Let's ride Broncos country. Let's ride.
Let's ride, baby. Mando, what about you? How do you feel about this being top 3?
Man, I don't have either Last of Us game in my top 15.
Okay.
Not that I don't respect them in that regard, and this is my personal top 15. I can see why people hold it. I think because I played these games like last year, actually, for the first time. And so I guess sort of being removed from maybe having played The Last of Us when it came out, I could imagine me maybe having a higher opinion for that game if I had played it then. But all that I left was with the great impression of how great that story was. And I'm very much like a video gamer who like appreciates a game, like a video game. And I didn't feel like it was that great of a video game, but I thought it was like one of the best stories told, I guess, in a video game. I get that. 2 took the gameplay to another level. Like I very much enjoy The Last of Us Part 2 from a gameplay perspective, way more. Like they really, really took it up a notch. Like when they remade The Last of Us, I was so upset about it because I was like, fuck, man. Like y'all could have, if you guys had just put The Last of Us 2 gameplay on this, that would probably be one of the greatest games ever made, period. So I really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed playing through this. I can't say I enjoyed it more because the story was like, I was so conflicted, man. Like, 1, I didn't want to play as Abby, and 2, I really, really grew to hate Abby. But they wanted, obviously, I think they wanted, right? That was the whole point. And so the game did what it was supposed to do. I can't get mad at it for that, you know?
For sure. But it also does something that, and you know, maybe I'm not going to like blatantly spoil massive things, but I am going to say some things. If you know, the show is coming out, like if you don't want any of The Last of Us Part 2 spoiled, here's your warning. But also, like, at least for me, the way that they make you hate her and then make you love her and like do that 180 of like, I can't fucking believe I have to play as her. And then by the end of it, I'm like, wait, am I Team Abby here? Is
I don't
like
know about Team
I think
Abby,
is
but I kind of understand.
but like just from a narrative design standpoint, I think is like a complete testament to how fucking good they are at Naughty Dog, that they're able to completely manipulate your mind about an entire like character down to like a molecular level. Like the hate I had for her, and then by the end of it, I'm like, I feel for this girl. Like I completely flipped my opinion on her by the end of the game, which is a really fucking cool thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Like this game, playing it like peak COVID was like not good mentally, but it fucking delivered. Okay. Any final words on The Last of Us Part 2 before we jump into number 2?
I'm being so upset with what I think number 2 is.
Here's my question. I would love to hear from both of you what your guesses are for the top 2. And I'm not going to say one way or the other. I just like, do you have in your mind what you think the top 2 video games are?
I think I already know what one is.
Okay.
I think I know what the number 1 game is.
Okay.
Yeah, I do too. I think I know both of them. I know what both the games are.
The number 2 game is where I'm like, is it gonna like I don't.
No, what do you think is number 1, Cayman?
So, well, I don't want to say what I think number 1 is and spoil. Put the
Well, I'm not going to say if you're right or wrong. I just want some conjecture here.
I think that we're gonna have. I'll put it to. I'll be a little vague. I'll be coy if you don't mind. I think we're gonna have a very interesting one in number 2 because I think they're gonna be very similar to the last 2 games that we just had.
Okay. Mando, would you like to add anything to that?
I concur.
Okay.
What I will say is I think it's going to be in the same order too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. At number 2 with 93 points. And I do want to say this was the original number 1 until the last list came in.
Wow.
At number 2, released in 2013.
No.
Wow.
On the PlayStation 3, The Last of Us.
Wow. Okay.
Number 2. Which like I completely expected this to just like easily take number 1. Again, ties The Last of Us 2 and Breath of the Wild for the most number 1 votes. In fact, the number 1 game had fewer number 1 votes.
Interesting.
It just had more votes. But we'll get to number 1.
Wow.
But this, I mean, this game for me, like this is my favorite game of all time at this point.
This is where video games became art, man.
Oh, for sure. Like, and we got so many people in the chat. Should have been number 1. Should have been number 1. Should have been number 1. I don't disagree, but this is science. We're believers of science.
I swear to fucking God, if Kingdom Hearts 1 shows up as the number 1 spot, I'm gonna.
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to go ahead and reveal number 1, even though we had talked about maybe doing some snubs. But
yeah, I think we did talk about this a little bit, in our sentiments about 2.
Yeah. So number 1 with 104 points, the only game to break 100.
Wow.
God, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, released this year, placed in at number 1. Okay, so here some very interesting things, but I do want to talk about Zelda and The Last of Us. But this game only had 1 number 1 vote, but it was so many people's 2, 3, and 4 that it just skyrocketed to the top. And then the last one we got in, I think it was like his number 5 maybe. So originally this was I think number 2, or it might have been number 3. I forget. But it wasn't number 1 until that last list came through. Just fucking, I was so fascinated by this. But it goes back to that recency bias conversation. Like,
yeah.
But then it's like, well, if we think this is better than Breath of the Wild, and we think Breath of the Wild is number 4, like it makes sense for it to be in the top 3.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. Cayman, what's going through your mind right now?
I'm legitimately shocked right now. Like, legitimately,
I'm still shocked 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm on one hand, I'm not, because like you said, this is without a doubt better than Breath of the Wild, both in just full actuality as well as science.
Yeah.
This is better, right? So I'm not shocked. But on the other hand, I think the trend of the way the show has always gone with our listicles, it's that Last of Us always ends up number one. So it's the safe bet. I think this this game will remain in the top 5 in the next probably 10 years.
I think so too.
But I do think that The Last of Us will eventually roll back in a couple of years, because I think once the conversation kind of gets over Tears of the Kingdom, I think a lot of people are going to look back at The Last of Us and be like, yeah, no, that's where, like I said, where video games became art for like really the first time for a large audience. And I think there's going to be moments where I think we're also going to see, if you did this list, if you did this while The Last of Us season 2 was rolling, The Last of Us would be number 1. So I think these games literally it just depends on the day. Will just be flip-flopping back and forth. I think it's crazy though. I think this is wild. It definitely threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I was so shocked. Like when I had this moment before that last list came through, I was like, thinking to myself, like going through the list, I was like, is it going to be boring that 1 and 2 is The Last of Us 1 and 2? Because if you've been listening to us since episode 1, like we've probably talked more than one episode just in time about these games, probably more than 2 episodes at this point. We've talked so much about these games, but for a reason. Like they're really special games. They took PlayStation to a different level. They took Naughty Dog to a different level. So much so that it's one of the most successful TV shows ever made. Like it sent Pedro Pascal to the fucking moon. Like the IP has power behind it for a reason. But this game too, like so many, like earlier when Liz was on and was saying like Baldur's Gate 3 by a fucking mile, there are a lot of people that would say Tears of the Kingdom by a fucking mile. And I can't wait for this Game of the Year season to wrap up so that we can see like what's each game's rants, or what's their, like, what did they walk away with? How many Game of the Year winners did they get? I personally think Baldur's Gate 3 probably will win more than Tears of the Kingdom. But personally, it is my Game of the Year. Again, as I said earlier, I haven't finished Baldur's Gate 3, but
you haven't played RoboCop yet.
And I've not played RoboCop yet. That's true.
You can get a trophy for shooting someone in the dick. And if you watch RoboCop, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
So to recap the top 20, and then we're going to get into some stats and some snubs before we wrap up this 9-hour show. Number 20, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 19, Control. Number 18, Paper Mario, The Thousand-Year Door. Number 17, Assassin's Creed 2. Number 16, Super Mario RPG. Number 15, Super Mario World. Number 14, Super Mario 64. Number 13, Elden Ring. Number 12, Persona 5 Royal. Number 11, Ghost of Tsushima. Number 10, Kingdom Hearts 2. Number 9, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 8, Pokemon Gold and Silver. Number 7, God of War 2018. Number 6, Baldur's Gate 3. Number 5, The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. 5 at 5. How about that? Number 4, Breath of the Wild. Number 3, The Last of Us 2. Number 2, The Last of Us 1. And number 1, The Legend of Zelda, The Tears of the Kingdom. Shragdaddy69 in the chat said, which game showed up on the most top lists? The Legend of Zelda. No, that's not true. I was looking at that on my screen. Skyrim was on the most lists. It was present 10 times across all the different lists. The top submissions go like this: Skyrim with 10, The Last of Us 1 with 8, The Last of Us 2 with 8, Tears of the Kingdom with 8, Breath of the Wild with 6, Gears of War, God of War with 6, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Baldur's Gate 3 all with 6. So those were the most kind of seen throughout.
Can I say something?
Please.
What do you think the landscape would have been like if Tears of the Kingdom didn't exist? Because my vote didn't go to Breath of the Wild because it went to Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't have both of them on my list. And so I wonder what it would have looked like, because for me, Tears of the Kingdom is the best Zelda game, and not like, and like Cayman said, on any given day, it's either that or like Final Fantasy VII. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Sure.
Like, depends when you ask me. I wonder what it would have looked like. And also the same thing for like The Last of Us 2 or The Last of Us. I wonder if somebody might have just chosen one of those games. And if 2 didn't exist, if 1 would just constantly beat out anything that would ever come its way.
It might. It's also interesting to me, real quick, Cayman, and then let bring you in. There have been multiple people that have messaged me like, I'm kicking myself that I didn't submit my list. Even last week, Jacob Askren, like, I don't know what his number 1 would have been. So the fact that I as I said a few weeks ago, if whatever your number 1 game was made the list, just from law of numbers, like there weren't enough submissions that 15 points got you in the top 100. So if we had even 5 more responses, this list would have been drastically different. But Cayman, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting point you made, Mando, about what vote goes where, right? Where I think that argument might not exist with The Last of Us. Reason being is because both games, while the gameplay mechanic is similar, the stories are so drastically
different. It's not a
different.
replacement of one. Yeah.
Where I think with like Breath of the Wild, you could easily you could throw Breath of the Wild
again. I'm never playing Breath of the Wild again, probably.
Yeah. And I think
100%.
and that's as someone that comes from someone like me who has said time and time again on the show, I was never a Breath of the Wild fan. I could appreciate what Breath of the Wild did, and what that's for, but for me, like, that never clicked. However, Tears of the Kingdom actually did for me. And so if I'm going to choose, like, I'm not going to even consider, but I will say both Last of Us showed up on my list.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the one thing there. And I think the other thing too is that Bulletstorm would have been number 1 if people had taste, but they don't. So
a shame that it was only on one person's list. Granted, number 1, but only one person's list. And I wonder whose list that was. Couple other fun stats, and then I want to go through our own top 15 lists that we submitted. Andrew in the chat says, so consolidate all the Marios and the Zeldas and the Last of Us's. If we did that, if it was just what are the best franchises by points, number 1 was Mario with 293 points. Zelda was second with 292 points. 1 point less than Mario submitted. And then third was The Last of Us with 183. So over 100-point difference between Zelda and The Last of Us. Granted, that's also a volume issue. Like, there's been like 15 Zelda games. So Mario, Zelda, Last of Us, God of War was number 4 with 154, bringing in, we had God of War 3, we had God of War 2. They just didn't make the top 100. And then after that was Pokemon with 136 points, and then Final Fantasy with 99. So those were our 5 most pointed franchises in that order, which I thought was interesting. Then going back to the kind of recency bias conversation that we brought up so many times, if you look by decade, only 3 submissions from the 80s, only 15 from the 90s, and then from the 2000s on, we had 38 in the 2000s, 36 in the 2010s, and then 12 in the 2020s. So interesting, though, that of those 12 games, 3 were top 5 or 3 were top 10, which I think is, or actually, no, I think 4 or 5 were in the top 10 just from the last 3 years alone. Really interesting shit.
I think some games are getting better, man.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then I want to give some respect to, there were 12 games that only received 15th place votes. The only time they were ever mentioned was on one person's 15th place slot. So they only got 1 point in all of our points combined. So I want to pour one out for them.
Honorable message.
The honorable mentions of only 1 point in all of this tallying. Borderlands on the PS3, DMC Devil May Cry, Double Dragon, that's a deep cut. Fallout 4, one of my favorite submissions because it's a game I'd never heard of and a game I never would have expected to ever see on this. Kim Possible, Revenge of Monkey Fist.
Honestly,
is that the Game Boy game?
I don't know. Honestly,
man, I love it.
Incredible.
If you happen to put that on your list, let us know if that was a Game Boy game.
Wow.
Pac-Man, Pokemon Snap, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, The Sims 2 Pets, Win Back on the N64, Total War Romance, and Three Kingdoms. Total War Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and then Terraria. Those 12 games only got 1 submission at the 15 slot, which I thought was funny. And then another interesting one, if you look at it by console exclusive, we talked about so many console exclusives in that top 15. Nintendo led the pack with 99 console exclusives that were submitted, not on the list, just submitted. And then after that was PlayStation with 40, and then Xbox with only 11. But I mean, that makes sense for our audience. I think we got a lot of Switch players, we got a lot of PlayStation players, not many Xbox.
I think that makes sense for the landscape of gaming and how
I
long
think so too.
Nintendo's been around, and
I think so too.
Yeah.
And then in terms of most represented singular consoles, a bit of a cheat, but the PC, like so many of these games were also released on the PC with 32 total games on the PC. But if you're only counting exclusives, the PC had 7 exclusives on it. So your Command and Conquer, Red Alerts, those kinds of games.
Terrible
the
game,
PS4,
Andrew.
You got him. The PS4, 21 games submitted on the PS4, 6 of them as exclusives, multiple in the top 15. PS3, 17 submissions with only 2 exclusives, The Last of Us being one of them. The Xbox One had 16 submissions with 2 exclusives. The 360 also had 16 submissions with 1 exclusive. The GameCube had 10 submissions with 8 exclusives, which is really interesting for that console, that almost every submission was an exclusive. And then the console with the most exclusive submissions was the PS2. 9 of the 10 games submitted on PS2 are PS2 exclusives. And then we had 7 of 9 on the Switch and then 4 of 6 on the N64. And then Kayla in the chat asked, did y'all say how many submissions you had? I may have missed it. We had 404 total games submitted, but let me pop over. I actually didn't mention how many singular lists. 31 lists were submitted. And the math, or no, actually, because there were a few sent, I think it was like 34, because I had a few that weren't sent in the form stack that were sent to me manually. But 34. Oh man, I had a thought and then I lost it. Here's a good question though. Sydney Alfredo, how did you calculate if people put a generic game series and not one specific game? It only happened a couple times. There were a couple people that just put God of War or Resident Evil. And so I defaulted to the original because if you didn't specify a year and it had the same title, I assume you meant the original, because so many people, I don't mean this as a dig, so many people read the directions and put the year if you meant not the original. So I assumed if you didn't put the year, you must have meant the original, or else the points were misconstrued there. What do you guys say we talk about our list? Because we've been going. We should wrap up soon because I need to get you guys back to your lives. But do you want to go through our top 15 lists?
Let's do it.
Sweet. Mando, walk us through yours first.
Yeah, I'll walk through mine. So mine was Final Fantasy VII, Tears of the Kingdom. I must have made this list on a Wednesday. If it was a Tuesday, Tears would have been first. Grand Theft Auto 3, Super Mario World, Shenmue, Fortnite. I'm telling you, the fact that Fortnite wasn't on this top 100 list is
almost made it
insanity. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Pokemon Crystal, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009, not 2018. SSX Tricky, Metal Gear Solid, the original, for one, Civilization 2, Halo 2, Skyrim, and RuneScape. Someone else must have put RuneScape because you didn't name it.
Had like
as the one pointer.
This sounds like a Lucas ass thing he did.
Honestly, it might have been on Lucas's list.
I would look, man. The running gag is, and I always mess this up. I'm always like, yeah, he met his girlfriend on RuneScape, and he's like, no, I met her on Minecraft. And I'm like, same thing. I think I don't know,
different decades.
I still play RuneScape.
It's apparently on mobile now. I need to give it a shot and see.
Yes, it is. That's the only reason I play it.
Cayman, what was your top 15?
My top 15. I actually just wrote them all down so I didn't have to look at my phone. I got the papers today.
Ooh, you're all about the paper.
So going backwards, number 15 for me was Borderlands, which still feel like Borderlands is the best one. 14 was Uncharted 4. 13 was Uncharted 2, which honestly I probably put a little too low on the list. 12 was God of War. 11 was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. 3. Wow. Okay.
I mean, I just remember you making the argument for that in the episode, and I was like, this guy.
I love Pro Skater 3. Number 10 for me was Mass Effect 2. Number 9, Red Dead 2. Number 8, Resident Evil 4. Number 7, Super Mario World. Number 6, The Last of Us 2. Number 5, The Last of Us. And then this is where shit gets wonky. Number 4, Rocket League. Hands down. Love. Number 3, Katamari Damacy. Number 2, Persona 4 Golden.
It was you
and
me,
number
brother.
1, my favorite game ever made, Bulletstorm. Here's the thing. I'll say it and I'll say it again and again and again. Like, video games are so subjective. It doesn't matter in the slightest.
For sure.
I think we can all latch onto something, and it has become like a running joke, and it would have been weird if I didn't put it as number 1. But the truth is, no one has ever played that game. And if anyone's going to champion for it, it's going to be the person whose nickname is the Dumpster Boy.
Correct.
So do you expect any more from
the self-fulfilling prophecy at its
Yes.
finest?
But seriously, I do say, and I'll say it again, like, just go fucking play it. I promise it's not as bad as it seems.
I will one day.
No, you
my top 15, I'm going to do descending as well. So number 15, I had Spider-Man 20, whatever, the first one, 2017, 18. I didn't follow my own directions. I didn't put a year for that one. I'm a fucking idiot. Number 14, I put Red Dead Redemption 1. Number 13, I put Dragon Age Inquisition. Number 12, Portal 2. Number 11, BioShock. Number 10, Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch.
That's a good call.
Not present on the list. Number 9, The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. Number 8, Mass Effect 2. Number 7, God of War 2018. Number 6, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Number 5, a fucking travesty that it was in the 90s, Super Mario Galaxy 2. Number 4, Persona 4 Golden. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda, The Tears of the Kingdom, or just Tears. There's not of the. Number 2, The Last of Us Part 2, and number 1, The Last of Us Part 1. And because in my own personal ranking that I had mentioned earlier, I had Breath of the Wild at 3, and so I just plopped Tears of the Kingdom right in there for that one. What a fun time! What we haven't done is go through some snubs, which I'll do right now, real quick. Games that either we didn't receive a single submission for, or just didn't make the top 100. That, in hindsight, I'm shocked by. Guitar Hero, no Guitar Hero anywhere. Wow. GTA Vice City, not in the top 100.
That's a wild one, man.
Yeah.
Celeste, which that's a game that not a lot of people have played, but I think if more people played, it would have been in the top 100. Half-Life 2, not in the top 100. And then a game when earlier when I was like, what do you guys think the top 2 is? I was hoping that one of you would have guessed Super Mario 3, which is not in the top 100, because that's a game that a lot of people.
World is a better game.
I agree. And I guess when we all said that one was better, I should have not expected it. But when I first put this together, I was hoping that maybe someone would be like, where is Super Mario 3? Because that is a game that a lot of people consider to be the best Mario. I don't.
You know what made number 1 and 2 so anticlimactic? The fact that 3 and 4 were their predecessors, and you know that the sequel's got to be the next 2 games.
No, you're right.
Like, what would Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. That's a good point. Well, there we have it. It only took us 2.5 days, but we got through the top 100. Mondo, I held you hostage for 2.5 hours, but always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for joining us. Is there anything that you'd like to plug while you're here? Anything on either socials or any projects that y'all are working on?
Not at all, man. Again, congratulations on 100 episodes. I am honored to be here, to have been here for the 2.5 days of this episode. And just chunk the monku on everything. If you care to follow, there's stuff coming, there's work coming, but yeah.
Okay. Cayman, how about you?
Yes, Cayman. How about me? Cayman just turned 33. It doesn't get any better, guys. So maybe don't turn any older. It just gets sadder, I think.
If you could turn back time.
You can find me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. Save Trash Cinema. We made an episode. We're taking a little bit more time. I think with STC right now, just with health issues and just life problems or life in general, we're just going to take it easy. We're not going to try to rush or try to push anything or force anything. So we'll have more episodes coming out. We might change up the formula to make it a little bit easier on me. But yeah, if you want to, we have a huge back catalog, seriously, massive back catalog, not 100 episodes,
not 100.
There's quite a significant amount. So you can find that at Save Trash Cinema on all socials. And yeah, just go dig it out. And if you find one you like, or if you want to ever come and be on the show, if we ever release another episode, just let me know. I'm always here.
Well, you can follow the pod at Spot Games Pod on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram and all the other things at Spotlight Games Pod, including Twitch, which I hope you're following so that you're notified when we go live next week with episode 101. We're hitting the ground running to talk about the last 2 months of games that we've been playing and news that we've missed. So I hope you come back next week. But thanks for being here. I was really hoping that we would have the chat show up, and you guys fucking delivered. I had a great time. You were here for over 2 hours. So you guys are the reason we do this show. Like, we've been doing it for, we've done it, 100 times now. And I hope that we do it 100 more, because I have so much fun making the show, and it's a lot of fun to talk about video games with my pals. And you guys keep listening. So we're going to keep making them. Thanks for being here. Let us know how science was wrong. What should have been number 1? What should have been number 2? But just remember, if you disagree, you deny science. But until next week, we love you.
We're all flat earthers.